going live a minute or oh, I got fucking paint in my hair. Bitch. Motherfucker. Hold on, where are some scissors? I need to cut this paint out of my fucking hair. Anyway. Do it on the other side too, make it even. Okay. Anyway. Sorry. Hi, I'm on time for once. Anyway, we're gonna build Lego bonsai tree. I think we're gonna do cherry blossoms. But yeah, since I'm gonna be focusing on doing that, I figured we could do more Reddit stories while I build. Happy No Not November. Maybe that's what I'll do for this week's video. Because I have no other plans. Oh, we could do a Raven No Not November. Let's do that. Okay. Anyway. So, sorry, I'm eating my lunch. But, yes. Yes. Dude, the mic is up literally fucking as loud as it can be. So, if you think it's like quiet, like turn up your volume. Okay? It's literally maxed beyond full volume. I have to go into the advanced settings to make it louder, so there is not shit I can do about that, my guy. Okay? But anyway, so I'm gonna turn the music off. We're gonna listen to Reddit stories and work on this, which we'll see how long it takes. If it's... Go the fuck away. Who's calling? I did make sure it wasn't my mom. Anyway. We're gonna listen to Reddit stories. And we're gonna... Aw! Thank you! Yes! Thank you for being a member for 10 months. Yay, almost a year, wow. But yeah, I will post a link to the story I play. So, but we're gonna listen to, the new channel I found, because I like finding new, Reddit channels to listen to, because I have a bad habit of watching all of their videos and running out of content. So yeah, this is not the new iPad. This is like probably a year or two old. It's iPad Air, but yeah. Ah, something was posted 2 hours ago. That'll be perfect. Yes. All right. Hopefully this will be a good volume.
What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you're well.
How's that volume?
My name is Mark, and today we're checking out some more.
You guys better go at least like the video and give it a view.
Before we do jump into today's stories,
right.
I'd just like to throw some thank yous out there to members and rejoins who joined and rejoined last week whilst I was away. So I'll start off with Zonny Hoffer with a rejoin, Myrene for the join, JJ Gonzalez for the join, Waffle Lover 420 for the rejoin, and Charm Oz for the rejoin as well. Thank you so much for that support. It means the absolute world. Never any pressure to do so, but it's
and go subscribe because he is good. He has good content.
Okay. With today's stories. Much love, guys. Now, our first cheeky little story from Sad Gal String of Numbers follows with an update, and it's called Am I the Arsehole for telling my roommate her friend needs to start paying rent or spend less time at our place.
I'm gonna open this
As
picture.
always, timestamps
Let's see if this person needs to pay
rent.
rent.
The first story before, so you can get straight to the update.
My guess is yes.
So I, 25 female, share a 2-bedroom apartment with a friend of mine from high school, 26 female. We've lived together for almost a year and have no problems until the last couple of months. She has a friend we will call Mike. He's around our age. At first, they were seeing each other romantically, but have decided to just be friends. Mike is at our apartment.
Oh, thank you.
He stays the night 5
Thank
to 6
you for being a
nights
member.
usually.
Or 6 months.
Eats my food without asking, and basically laughs at my polite request to replace the food he eats. If it was a
This is
snack
what I'm
here
gonna
and
build
there,
on.
I wouldn't mind, but I will buy groceries for the week, and it's half gone within a couple of days because of him. He sleeps with her in her room, but when they're not sleeping or she's at work, he's in the living room loudly playing video games. I work from home.
Sorry, and he doesn't pay any
during
rent?
my work hours most days. Again, when I've requested him to quiet down, he laughs it off like I'm joking. A few days ago, we had a rare evening where he
Kick
wasn't
this
that
boy
well.
out.
My roommate was watching TV in the living room, and I took the opportunity to bring up my concerns. When I brought up the behavior that bothers me, she apologized, but basically said she can't change who he is.
This is a much more advanced Lego build than I have ever done.
Practically living at our place and eating my food, he should be contributing to
Actually,
rent
that's not true. I helped my cousin build
said that was unfair, as he's not on our
the
lease.
Millennium Falcon.
I told her if that was the case,
I think
then
it
he
was
needs to spend much less time at our place.
But that was like 10 years ago.
She also said he has
What
troubles
are you
at home.
doing?
He still lives with his parents and is unemployed, and it would hurt their friendship if she asked him to help out or stop coming around. She thinks I'm being a huge arsehole, and I'm sure she's told him what I said because he's been really snarky ever since the conversation. Am I the arsehole for asking that he help pay to essentially live at our place?
No.
And seeing as we've read that story before, I'll cover the edit straight away, which says, thank you all so much for the responses. I probably won't be able to go through them all, but I'm glad to know that I'm not crazy for thinking these things of him. Lol. I appreciate all the suggestions, but when it comes to getting my landlord involved, it's just not worth it for me right now. The situation is now already tense, and even though I think he deserves to get told to F off, I don't want to make my last 2 months living here even more awkward. I'm going to start looking for a place for myself, and if possible, move out a little bit before our lease is up. I'll pay my last 2 months of rent, but I'm going to try to get out ASAP. Thank you all. And I remember coming into this one being absolutely frustrated for OP that they're having to live through this. The guy, sitting... The biggest thing that wound me up was him sitting in the living room playing video games and all this sort of stuff. And then laughing it off when he's told to turn it down. In someone else's apartment, which he's paying nothing for. And eating someone else's food as well. Holy crap, that got me going. But that was definitely not the asshole for me. We're going to cover
definitely not the asshole, though.
Move to the updates. With Coffee Bean 823 who says I'm not the arsehole. Now there's some big brass ones that hang out and interrupt your workday and eat your groceries. So your roommate basically, he is an arsehole and won't change. I'd be tempted to kick her out. There isn't much of a relationship with her to damage. OP replied to that one saying, we've been friends for years. It would really suck to do that, but our lease is up in a couple of months. I think I'm going to look for my own place. And Consistent Leopard 71 says, not the arsehole. Your roommate has essentially added another roommate to your living situation without your consent. He absolutely should not be eating your food, nor should he be there when she isn't.
We're starting
both being completely
with the base.
Unreasonable. Paul's running coach says, not the arsehole. No one wants the uninvited extra roomie, except your roommate, apparently. But it doesn't seem like he's eating her groceries and disrupting her.
She definitely has a crush on him or something.
And OP replied that one saying, this comment might make me an arsehole. It started as soon as they decided to just be friends. She was head over heels for him when they first met. She has been single for a very long time. I have a feeling she allows this because he's leading her on in some way. It sucks because she sees him as a genuine friend. But I see him as someone who is using her for as long as he can.
That's the reason.
Colonel Axon says,
that's the reason.
The arsehole. You're paying more because he is
there. So,
you know about the food, but what about utilities?
We need this.
It is not your fault he is unemployed and lives with his parents. He should probably look for a job to be able to move out if it's such an issue.
This one.
Coming around is one thing, but living there, hanging out and playing video games during the day while you are working is something else entirely. If she doesn't budge on it, I'll be seeing if there's a new place you can move to. They both want to be roommates so badly. The Dagman says,
this is honestly a very good Lego table.
The apartment when your roommate isn't. That's a violation of basic roommate etiquette. Of no
basic roommate etiquette. But seriously,
yes, he needs to pay for
this is
the
why I
food
don't
he
have
eats.
roommates
It's not
unless
free and it's
I'm
not
like
his.
dating them.
I'll start calling him Mooch. Shame on
Start
him.
calling him
moochery.
Mooch.
Make him uncomfortable. He may get the hint and find some other place to avoid his parents. Now let's move to the update.
If he wants to avoid his parents, he can go fucking get an apartment. Like what?
I get kicked out. So update. I wasn't expecting to
Oh wait,
an
did I
update
do it
so
on the wrong
soon,
side?
but
I did.
things kind of blew
So
up
it's
this
supposed to be
weekend.
a long way.
On Saturday morning, my roommate and Mike went out for brunch, and I went grocery shopping. I also stopped and bought a few locks for a couple of the cabinets, so I could lock away some of my food. Was planning on borrowing a mini fridge my dad had later this week too. I brought home my groceries and locked a lot of it up, and then went to run a few more errands. When I got back in the afternoon, Mike was sitting on the couch and my roommate was in the shower. I tried to just walk past into my room, but he stopped me when he said, "So what the fuck is that about?" Pointing towards the kitchen.
Okay, yeah, that's great.
I told him I was tired of him stealing my food, so I locked it up. We got into a yelling match over this, as he doesn't believe him stealing my food is stealing.
Oh, come on, camera.
My roommate came out of the bathroom and I was fed up and said he needs to get the fuck out of our apartment now. She did not put up a fight and drove him home. Not before he called me a few awful names though. When she got back, she tried to walk past me to her room, but I told her we needed to talk.
Okay.
Long story short, she broke down crying after I told her I wasn't renewing the lease. I guess she had a conversation with him at brunch about what I talked to her about, and he blew up at her and told me I was trying to turn her against him,
right?
and she should kick me out.
I lived with my parents
she also confessed
on
to me
and off
that she'd
for a
been
while.
giving him money
Not now,
regularly, but didn't tell me how
I
much.
don't want to, but
they had plans to go out to some show tonight, and she was considering taking him home after and basically not allowing him to come back. I don't think I mentioned in my original post that he doesn't have a car.
Oh wait, I should turn
this
light
know
on.
if this is true or if she said this because of what happened after I got home. But either way, he's gone, and she agreed to not let him back at her apartment. We talked a lot, and I think after our first conversation, she really started to realize she was being taken advantage of. I told her I'm still going to look for my own place, and she was understanding of that. She agreed that she should not have let him affect our friendship like she did. And even though things are weird right now, I hope we will go back to how things were before eventually. Thanks again for the advice on here. It did not end exactly how I planned, but either way, I'm glad that dude is out of my apartment and my life. And I know some of that post was pretty negative, but in some ways I look at this in a positive way. In that, you know, OP stood up for themselves, and I think that was a really positive thing that she said, needs to get the fuck out of here now.
I'm glad
they
told him
thing.
Fuck
and it
off.
also came to the realization of OP's friend that, you know, they are being taken advantage of. Is there further stuff going on? Obviously, we don't know, and hopefully OP will start to cement their friendship with their friend again and back her up, and hopefully the conversations will only grow about Mike and, you know, him possibly taking advantage of OP's friend. And I really hope that Mike stays out of both of their lives, because he sounds like a negative influence on both of them at the moment. But what do you guys make of this update? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll move on to the next story. And our next story comes from a throwaway account titled "Am I the Arsehole for Threatening My Sister?"
You need to leave the room because you're a little monster.
With a restraining order.
You need to go out there.
I am 32 female, married to my husband,
Alright, I let the balls out.
I have a younger sister who's now 29 female. My sister got pregnant when she was 18. It was an accidental pregnancy, and she wanted to terminate it, but instead chose to keep it and give it away for adoption. Before she gave birth, I considered adopting the kid and made sure my sister would be okay with it, and she was extremely happy. She gave birth, and we did all the legal paperwork to adopt the kid. The kid would still meet my sister, but as her aunt. It is a girl. The kid is now turning 11, and all those years we've never had issues with our family dynamic. My sister also expressed that she's not fit to be a mum, and she's been open about staying child-free. She's been a great aunt to my daughter. We had a healthy family relationship. I also found out 6 months ago that I'm pregnant with my own biological kid. I always wanted to be a mum, and that's why I adopted my daughter, and now I'm also pregnant. My husband and I are more excited that our family is growing, and we'll be able to give our daughter a sibling. Since I got pregnant, my sister's stance has changed. She tries to spend more time with my daughter, and also introduced her new boyfriend to my daughter, which is something she's not done with any other boyfriend of hers. She's been dating that guy for less than a year. I don't want to get into much detail, so straight to the point.
Okay.
My sister claims that now I'm expecting my own biological kid.
Solid.
She wants her daughter back.
Hell no,
I was shocked,
bitch!
to say the least, and I
This
told
is not
her
a puppy.
That's not gonna happen.
Even if it was a
the
puppy,
kid is
no.
legally adopted by me and my husband, and she's grown up with me as her mother.
What
She
the
claims
fuck?
I stole her kid by taking advantage of her young age when she got pregnant, and I reminded her giving up the kid for adoption was her own choice. She wants the kid back and demands to act like a mother. She also told the truth to her boyfriend and claims we manipulated her into giving up the kid, which was not the case at all. Her boyfriend is willing to help her in legal battles to get the kid back.
What?
She's also threatened to tell the kid the truth unless we do as she says.
I mean,
Legally, there's nothing she can do,
but
I don't want my kid to be traumatized by revealing the truth, especially that way. My husband and I threatened a restraining order. My parents basically called me the arsehole for threatening a restraining order against my own sister. I said I should sit down and listen to what she has to say because she's my sister after all. My husband and I are not willing to back down, as protecting our kid and family is our first priority.
Good.
My parents say my sister should have equal rights to her kid.
What?
We have, and we should compromise.
Literally what?
The arsehole.
This is not a fucking purse.
Incredibly tough story.
What the fuck?
The first thing
this is a child.
Head, you know,
what
even
the hell?
with a restraining order, if sister wants to tell the truth that she was adopted when she's a baby, it's going to happen. So in some ways, I want to say that the daughter needs to know as soon as possible that she was adopted.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's good advice or not. But it's obvious that the truth will eventually, one day, have to come out, right? So maybe the option will be to do this like as soon as possible, really, before sister does go and blab this to anyone, but do it with a therapist, a trained professional who may be able to help guide you through this at the same time. Again, I'm no expert on this, but it's what just pops into my head from previous stories that we've covered. But 9OKM says, not the arsehole. Restraining order sounds good to me. Tell your daughter the truth now to avoid it being revealed in an unpleasant
Definitely tell her
way.
the truth.
BR78 says absolutely this. I knew a woman whose husband was not
we're building the border,
but they never told her. When they split, Mum threatened constantly to tell her. Well, she did. When she and 13-year-old daughter were arguing, she has never recovered from the trauma. We used to tell him to sit her down and tell her in a positive way, but he didn't, and now the daughter hates them both. Individual ad said, not the arsehole, but it seems you're going to have to tell your daughter that her favourite aunt is actually her biological mother sooner than you had planned. It's much better if you and your husband tell her than if your sister does so, because it allows you to preempt her lie. Also, it removes her blackmailing you through that threat of telling her. Jane the Queen says, not the arsehole. You are the child's mother in every respect other than biologically. Your sister and your parents are way out of line. You need to tell your daughter the truth.
They're fucking insane.
Do it in your own way and do it as soon as possible. Your daughter deserves to know, but aside from that, it will be far less upsetting coming from you, her parents, than if your sister blurts it.
Yeah.
It also takes away that threat from your sister. Sadly, if your sister doesn't back off, you might need to ban her from contacting your family until she settles down.
Dude,
if she
you
gets
should definitely
agitated
ban her
enough,
already.
she could do something dangerous like attempted kidnapping or something.
Yeah.
It sounds like your sister is having a mental health crisis or similar. And Isiwi says, everyone sucks here, and quotes, she also threatened to tell her kid the truth, unless we do as she says. Legally, there's nothing we can do, but I don't want my kid to be traumatized by revealing the truth, especially that way. Then goes on to say, you and your hubby for not telling your daughter she was adopted when she's 11 years old. Horrible.
Yeah,
it should have been part of her history from the time she was a baby. Look here, and then shares a link. Her aunt and biological mother and boyfriend for obvious reasons. You are your daughter's mother, although you haven't done completely right by her. And the grandparents for treating your daughter like a toy that you and your sister need to compromise over. And one more from Just No Throws Away who says, look, you're not the arsehole because she is your child, but, and you're still not the arsehole for this, you need to tell your daughter that she's adopted. You need to let her know what's up.
I don't think you're the asshole for not telling her, because I can see how that would be like a stressful situation. But at the same time, you fucking gotta tell her. Otherwise, it's gonna come out in a traumatic way.
But her husband adopted me. If he had adopted me when they first got married, I would have never known he wasn't my biological dad. But I've always known that I was chosen when he adopted me. You need to make sure that you frame your conversation around you and your husband choosing your daughter rather than your sister having an oops pregnancy.
I completely agree.
Your daughter deserves to know. She also deserves, if she wants it, to know who her biological parents are. But it's your call, mostly, how much interaction these other adults get with your daughter. But your daughter needs to know and needs to have a say.
Guys,
don't get me wrong.
She'll
likely be upset that she didn't already know, especially when everyone else knows. But talk to her, Let her be upset if she is. Get a therapist involved. Being adopted is both a curse and a blessing.
We have the base
yes,
going.
someone choose to bring you into their life, but someone also said, I don't want you ever. And when those realizations clash, it gets difficult.
Oh, okay.
Good luck, Mom.
Okay.
You can do this. Now, what do you guys
So we've got to cover the sides of these.
Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll move on to the next one. Our next story comes from Hungary Red 6080. Am I the asshole for uninviting my mother-in-law to my wedding after she wore my wedding dress as a Halloween costume?
No, she did not.
My mother-in-law and I have always had a strange relationship.
Not.
We just don't like each other. It's really hard because I don't see a way around it.
I was gonna say I'd kill my mom if she did that, but my mom would literally never even fucking dream
she made it very clear that she would not help, wanted nothing to do with our child. We were staying with her at the time, and she said I had to be out by the time my son was born. That isn't an issue, and I'm just glad for the help. We moved out, got engaged, had our baby, and mother-in-law agreed to help financially with the wedding. I was super grateful, and having my son made me grow up a lot. I went into this with a positive mind frame and hoped maybe we could at least be civil at some point, because this situation has broken my fiance's heart. Mother-in-law bought my wedding dress and was storing it at her house.
Wait, was
we
the
ended up having
mother-in-law?
another falling gown.
No.
She overheard something my friends were saying about her, which I had no part in, and went and shit-talked me.
I will show the petals, don't worry.
When she was called out, we ended up in a massive fight and both said nasty things. And she told me she hated me and she was never speaking to me again. I contacted her multiple times about my dress, but I think she blocked my number. Last night, I got a call from one of my friends who saw mother-in-law at a Halloween party wearing my wedding gown covered in fake blood.
Literally
she had a tiara, so I guess she was carrying or something. My fiance called her, but she did not answer. He left her a furious voicemail, but she never called back. I cried all last night because I was so upset about the dress, and it killed our Halloween plans. Today, I decided she absolutely can't be at the wedding. My fiance looked heartbroken when I said it, but said he fully understands and supports me. He texted mother-in-law, but just in case she's blocked him too, he called mother-in-law's husband and let him know to pass on the message. Now, some people are saying I was too harsh and should have made sure my fiance was really okay without inviting her, and that he might resent me. I can tell he is really sad, but he says he gets it and supports me 100% and can't have someone who hates me that much at the wedding. And we're going to start off with Bacon, Egg and Cheese SPK, who says not the arsehole, but honestly, you should have known better than to accept your mother-in-law's offer to buy your dress or stored it in her home. Stop accepting help from your mother-in-law financially because she's clearly just going to continue punishing you for it. Doc says that she ruined your dress. Anyone who doesn't agree with your decision is an arsehole, not the arsehole. To which Holiday3 replies to that saying, mother-in-law ruined a dress that she bought that was never in OP's possession. It's very clear she wasn't going to give it to OP after OP's friends trash-talked the mother-in-law at the bridal shower.
What?
Farside 2489
obviously,
but you have a ton of issues you need to address.
Well, it was her dress.
You need to have your fiance take initiative when things like this happen. You need to ask him what he's going to do. Retract the invitation, low contact, no contact. You have a ton of problems if he can't think for himself. Next, this strikes me as very odd that your friends are in close enough circles that your mother-in-law can overhear their shit talking. They can see what she wears for Halloween. Unless you live in an extremely small township, this is not normal. You'll continue to have problems if your friends are that revolve around your mild circles. Lock up the loose lips. The public doesn't need to know all your events about your relatives and your friends look like they don't mind airing everything out publicly. Figure out how to completely change that dynamic. Also, you've said that you've done something growing up, but there is some more growing up to do. Honestly, it's never ending, so don't take it to heart. When you have a history of a volatile relationship with someone, you do not rely on them for financing nor storing of your items, even if you're trying to build a better relationship, especially if you're trying to build a better relationship.
She should have known that the mom was going to probably fucking do some bullshit like this, but at the same time, that doesn't make it her fault.
I know it sucks, but it's the only way things are within your control. My advice is to completely stop talking about the drama. It's not going to fix a thing, and focus on building emotional skills on how to build a stable future. And one more from Verbena 101 who says, I'm going with an everyone sucks here, leaning more towards you're the arsehole on your side. I saw your comment about your friends bitching about your mother-in-law at your bridal shower, and wow. I'm not surprised she was pissed. I'd be fuming if I were her and heard that my future daughter-in-law was letting her friends say such things about me. Info, do these friends know her personally, or just what you told them about her? Very hypocritical of you to get mad about her bad-mouthing you to the family when you started it by letting your friends badmouth her. Seemingly
they
without
should be
reason.
better at like not doing it in front of people who are going to overhear them, but like that's them. Not her. She's not responsible for her friends.
Her very well, or you've been gossiping too. Honestly, it may be petty, but if I bought someone a wedding dress only to find out that friends were trash talking me behind my back, and that friend was doing nothing to defend me, I wouldn't consider that person a friend. I would absolutely keep that wedding dress as I paid for it and do what I wanted with it. You aren't the arsehole for not inviting her to the wedding, because it has definitely escalated to the point where, yeah, she shouldn't come to the wedding before she did to the dress. But from what I can gather, you kind of had it coming, and I don't blame her at all. Now, what do you guys make of this one? I've got to say, when I read the title
thank you, Michael.
It shocked me. Like, I was like, what? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll move on to the next story. Now,
yes.
Next story comes from
Anonymous
3542, titled, "Am I the arsehole for excluding my husband from my brother's funeral?"
I don't really need
After he called me with the news and told me to guess. And before we do jump into the story, I just want to let you know there is mentions of someone losing their life in a vehicle accident. So please feel free to skip the story if you'd like to.
Trigger warning.
The last story as well. So feel free to use those timestamps. Thank you. I lost my brother in a motorcycle accident 3 weeks ago at the age of 21. This was sudden and devastating beyond measure. I live 3 towns away from my entire family, and I didn't know about it right away. My husband was calling when I walked into the room, when my phone was on vibrate and charging. I answered, and he asked why I didn't answer my sister's calls. I asked why, and whether she called him. He said yes, and proceeded to tell me he received the news of a family member's death from her. I was shaken at this point, while I was waiting for him to tell me more, but he said, "Guess who?" I angrily told him to stop it and tell me, but he still thought it was fine to ask me to guess when I lost it on him because my nerves were done.
What the
I
fuck?
yelled at him, then hung up and immediately called my sister.
What the
and she told me it was our youngest brother.
What the fuck?
I had an awful reaction because this is my baby
what
brother
the
that I adored so much.
Divorce.
And my husband knew how
Divorce
much I cared
immediately.
about him. I drove to my hometown 6 hours away by myself, and my husband was mad after he found out I didn't wait for him to take him with me. I told him I didn't want him there after how he treated me. Played my
he's definitely not coming, and he's also not staying married. Like, what the
didn't
fuck?
Want to dish the news all of a sudden. He wanted to come, but I said I kicked out if he showed up, which got him pissed, yelling that I had no right to call him.
We finished the base, guys.
He said my anger was misplaced, and I was taken out on him for no reason other than
no! The anger was perfectly fucking placed. What the fuck? Who does that? What the fuck? Who does that? Like, I'm actually beside myself. Who actually does that?
Shit. First, gotta say, I'm extremely sorry for your loss. That must have been
Poor
absolutely
OP. Like, what the
for your partner to do this. Like,
that is not a partner. That's literally, like, with fucking partners like that, who needs fucking enemies? My God.
Absolutely not.
Oh wow, these are some interesting pieces.
Questions about what is going through that person's mind to be so cruel. How does he think that would help you? How doing that help someone? I can't get that into my head. But turbulent drawing 6 is not the arsehole. How does making you guess help you? You have to protest in your mind the potential deaths of
Why would
all
you
your
have
family
to fucking
members
guess?
The right one.
That's so
horrific. Anything you had to do to protect yourself after that was understandable. Ugh. And OP replies saying, "You're right," and I felt
literally who does that?
Devastated before I even knew about my brother's death.
So
because, like you said, I started wondering whether it was mum,
God,
any of my brothers, or even my nieces.
Like,
it was awful. I felt so much anger. I lost on him. Izzy says, "Not the arsehole. Your husband is the most colossal arsehole I've read about here today.
Like,
who talks like that? Like it's a game, a fun surprise. Who could be so sadistic? Counseling now." If he refuses, I think you know what to do.
Now, yeah.
I'm so sorry about your brother. Alarmed hamster said, "Not the arsehole. Your husband is terrible. Oh my God. That's like a hill to die on right there. In your position, I wouldn't be able to forgive him."
I would never
Thea says, "Hey, yeah, so someone died. Guess who? Haha." Says,
yeah, like it's a joke. Like, oh my God.
Oh my God.
Who the fuck does
so
that?
sorry for your loss. And one more from 4136.
Like, actually so disgusting.
Despite him saying,
what the fuck?
He was putting my mental and emotional health first by not dishing the news all at once. And then says, like, how does this even make sense? Your sister called earlier and tried to reach you. There's been an accident and your brother didn't make it. I'm so sorry, sweetheart, versus your sister called, someone's dead. Guess who? Oh. No, really guess. And you go through every person you've ever met in your head. I know
that's
which
like
one is better for my
actually
mental health.
Psychotic
Whether or not
behavior.
excluding them from the funeral was the right call depends on how the aftermath has gone. But if you want to save this marriage, it will require work. So sorry for your loss. Now, what do you guys
like,
make of this final story?
Literally,
I can't work out what was going through someone's head to talk in that way. What do you guys think? And let us know your thoughts on the rest of today's
Okay, this is so... I have no idea.
Never any pressure to do so either, though. Just a huge thank you for spending your time with me today. And I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Much love.
And then this one goes the other direction. Rotate this. It looks like a campfire for me. I think it's the colors. Okay. Let me do these guys.
What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you are well. My name is Mark, and today we're checking out some /butthole. And before we jump in to today's stories, I just want to say some thank
Whenever
you to
British
some
people do like a sing-songy voice, they sound like they have an American accent. It's so funny.
Jamie, you cheeky so-and-so, for joining us. And thank you so much for everyone.
Like, if you want to have an American accent, start singing with a British accent.
Amazing. So thank you so much for joining us. And let's crack on with today's stories. Much love, guys. Now, our first story is going to follow with an update, and it's from Affectionate You3642, saying, am I the asshole for changing the names of my babies?
What?
I, female 25, my husband H, male 29, are in the process of adopting two cute little twins that will be born in January. The biological mother is a young teenage girl, G, female 15, who doesn't want to keep them. She's the daughter of a friend of ours, and somehow it got through that we wanted to adopt, so her family called us as soon as they knew G was pregnant. We've been with her all her pregnancy, and even if she doesn't want to be a mother, she will still be able to visit the twins as often as she wants, because we live in the same city. As soon as we found out about the baby, we began looking for names, and it was confirmed that it was going to be twins, a girl and a boy. We decided on the names Ellie and Evan. Last week, however, we were informed that G had chosen names herself, Walter and Agnes. She didn't choose them because of a relative, just because she thought they sounded cool. I don't think I have to mention how
doesn't really matter if you name them, it's not your kids.
What? But even if the names were great, they are still our babies. We will raise them. G said she never wants to visit them, although she will probably change her mind. We insist on naming them. They will also get our last name and legally be our children.
If you have the correct type of British accent, it makes you sound so much smarter. If you have the wrong type of British accent, it does not do that.
It's friend to look for new parents. Her sister told us that they are just bluffing and hoping for us to back off. And there is an edit which we're going to cover straight away, which says, we are considering the name Ellie Agnes, but we will not name the boy Evan Walter. We're looking for a lawyer right now.
Really? You're considering Ellie Agnes, but Evan Walter doesn't sound good to you? Okay. First of all, Ellie Agnes sounds like shit. Evan Walter sounds so much better.
Which we are planning to do every time right now. We have talked to G's sister, and she told us that G begged her parents not to look for other couples, as she wants us as her baby's parents. She's been telling them that for the last few days. No idea why G's sister didn't tell us that before. Ellie's full name will be Eleanor, to honor H's late sister,
but we will call her Ellie. I
will not respond to any more comments. Thank you all for your support. And as I said, we do have an update to this story. And we're going to start straight away with Spiritual Check 5579, who says, not the arsehole. G and her family are being delusional. They are willing to give up every little aspect of control over these twins' lives, but not their name. It doesn't make sense. Unless they have the intention to disrespect your role as the baby's mother and true parent. I want to say you should pretend to respect their decision and just change their names as soon as adoption is finalized, but I don't know if this is the best. If you think on having those people in your life, but I would not change my mind about the names. Make sure they understand that you will be the mum and you will call the shots. If this is not good enough for them, it's best that they found other people to adopt. Maybe they're not really ready to give up the babies, I'm sorry to say. The names may say that you're the asshole. These are not your babies. They are very much G's babies until they are born and papers are signed. Your entitlement to another woman's children is pretty disturbing and predatory.
What?
Get a lawyer, but there's not much they can do now because those babies are again not yours right now. G is going through an extremely traumatic experience and doesn't need you being petty over baby names.
They said they were going to let them adopt. Don't tell people you're going to let them fucking adopt.
It sounds like you're not. If you really wanted to give kids a home who needed one, then names wouldn't be an issue, or you'd foster to adopt a child who's in the system and desperately looking for a home.
No, this commenter is literally
being entitled to someone else's babies. You're the asshole for expecting another woman to hand their children over to fill a void in your life.
What?
You're the asshole for not actually wanting to.
She said they offered. It's not like they went out of their way to ask them. What the fuck?
You're the asshole. Abolish abusive privatized adoption. Rinner chicken dinner said not the asshole, but I think bringing it up to them was a stupid thing to do. You hear all these stories about couples who are burned like this after funding the entire pregnancy. You wait until the babies are born and sign over to you.
Yeah, that's what sounds more like what's happening.
Girl who doesn't ever want to see them, but is getting hung up over some stupid names that she currently thinks are cool. There's pregnancy hormones mixed with teenage hormones. There were obviously going to be outbursts over minor things. I think it's your job to placate the mother through her pregnancy if you want a successful adoption. I'm not someone who advocates lying much, but the alternative is a 15-year-old who doesn't want kids suddenly gets stuck with two of them with no preparation because of spite over names she'll probably regret later anyway. Empty pomegranates are not the arsehole. Don't push it until after you adopt though, in case it becomes an issue. When our family adopted, we also changed their names. You could make Walter and Agnes their middle names. That's what we did. The hot letter said you would be the arsehole. I volunteered in adoptee advocacy for years. This is a big issue amongst adoptees and bio parents. Many of them resent name changes and feel a name change.
Dude, if you're going to fucking give your child up for adoption, you give up rights. That includes the right to fucking name them.
But there are enough out there that don't like
what
it.
Are these
and that should
people
be taken
on?
into your consideration. Please go into some adoptee-centered spaces and spend some time reading and listening to them, as they are the best source of info for raising adopted children. Facebook and TikTok have some groups and folks who can point in the right direction for support. I'm sure this is an unpopular opinion for those who think adoption is universally a good thing, but given the trauma that goes along with adoption, it doesn't make it any less true. Now, I found this one extremely difficult, that's why I didn't say anything before the comments. I was hoping like the comments would, would give some additional information, that people have been through this experience maybe. I kind of take this as a bit of a learning process at the same time in some ways. And my initial thoughts when coming into the story, I was thinking a 15-year-old giving up twins, that must be absolutely a traumatic experience. Well, I can't imagine it really, never being in that position, but I can imagine it being traumatic and very scary for someone that young to be going through that. Shit, when I was that age, I think I was still playing with Lego. I know, probably a bit older, but
playing with Lego.
And I
hey,
did
you're
find
never
that
too old for Legos.
Interesting, which said, the babies are not yours yet. They're very much G's until the paperwork's all signed, etc. So there's no point in causing an argument about it now.
I would say there's no point in arguing about it. Like, just get some shit in writing. Like, there's no point to fight with these people.
And so if they have changed their name after, is that going to cause resentment from them? I know the baby isn't legally hers anymore, but it's still very traumatic, I imagine. Regardless, let's check out the update.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really feel bad for traumatic if you made a choice.
So it says, my husband and I sat down with G
feel like you're allowed to claim trauma from
we apologized to her, saying that if we wanted an open adoption, we needed to all work together. She told us, as many Redditors commented, and as we also thought, that it wasn't her idea to push the name. She apparently chose the names to say goodbye for what could have possibly been. Wrote them down in her diary, and her mother found it. I talked to her for a while about the implications of adoption, and asked if that's what she really wants, and she agreed. She's not in the right place to have a baby, let alone two, and raising them would not be in anyone's best interest. She said she does not want to be a mother, but thinks that it's best for the twins
to know her, and she will visit occasionally, maybe once every 2 weeks or more often.
So then
She wants to be introduced to the twins as lmao, means aunt, but is also a title used to refer to any girl 1 or 2 generations above you. We discussed our possibilities and agreed that a family being in the life of the twins was not good for their development. The main point of the initial post was the naming issue. H and I agreed that we were being inconsiderate and unintentionally harming the twins, as many adoptees have told us in the comments that they love their names given to them by their bio parents. We thought that it was best to name them together, as we will be their parents.
Like, just because some like it doesn't mean that they all like it. Not fucking everyone who's been adopted is like a monolith.
Alice because it's cute and classy, Eleanor to honor H's late sister, and Finn Alexander.
Like, it's one thing if
Finn
you
chosen by
chosen
G
that you want to do that. It's another thing to feel like pressured to do it, because that's
top
just
5
dumb.
names list. Their Korean names will be decided by a naming expert after their birth, and we 3 will, again, choose their names together. After the first conversation with G about a decision to adopt, we 3 sat down with our parents and talked about our boundaries. They consider the babies to be shameful and would, quote, rather die than accept them as our own blood. Therefore, they will not be part of their lives. They argued for a short while, but then agreed that it's for the best. When the babies are old enough to decide if they want to meet them, they can, but we don't think it would be a good influence at the time. For the people who asked about the bio dad, he also understands the implications of adoption and is okay with it. He does not wish to know the twins and doesn't want us to tell them who he is. Edit for all of the people telling me that the naming experts don't exist and therefore I must be lying. I'm half Korean, my husband is Korean, the twins will grow up in Korea. Therefore, we're following the Korean tradition to go to a person that happens to be called a naming expert, and they pick out a list of about 20 names. It has to do with astrology, shamanism, name mixing, and many more things. It's a thing in many Asian countries. From my personal experience, at least in Korea and Japan, as other regulars have commented, also in India and China. Now, what are your thoughts on this story? What's your thoughts on the update? Let us know in the comments below. We'll move on to the next story. This next story is from Dazzling Occasion 148, titled, Am I the Arsehole for refusing to house sit for my brother on his honeymoon after he treated me like shit?
The biological father gets
My brother got married in June, and he and his wife delayed their honeymoon to save money and recover from their wedding. He asked me a couple of days ago if I would house sit for them while they go on honeymoon. I told him, hell no. He had some nerve asking me after how I was treated at his wedding. The morning of the wedding, he had me run around to pick up his wedding cake. Didn't even give me the right place to go the first time, and I ended up running around in the rain, going for a cake, and never once was I thanked. Actually, he and his wife bitched at me for being late to the church. He actually cancelled my room for his best friend, who was coming from out of state without telling me. So when I went to grab my key, there was nothing there for me. And he kept money I had paid. He booked our rooms for us, and we gave him the money. They bitched that I looked less put together than everyone else for the photos after the incident that morning. My hair got messed up. My makeup wasn't as professionally done as it had been. I was put in the far corner for family photos to hide the fact. Adding to all that, he left me to pay for the bar tab as my contribution to the wedding, even though I had helped with the wedding invites, table plans. I was the one who picked up their decorations from the place and brought them to the hotel and put them up. They needed someone to show up and make sure they got what they wanted. On top of being sent for their cake at the last minute and getting shit for being late when he gave me the wrong bakery first. Our parents took care of the tab and gave him so much shit for treating me the way he did. I was honest with them about the stuff they had said to me that day. They were super pissed because I already dedicated a lot of time to help them out. But now he said, I am being petty, given we were good before the wedding. One day should not make me refuse to help him. Am I the arsehole? Now, as I was reading this, I was thinking, oh, maybe they were just wrapped up in their own wedding. They was like totally bogged down and didn't realize what OP was doing and all that sort of stuff. But it's just like the amount of stuff OP done for this wedding, the invites, table plans, picked up the decorations, picked up the cake, got it wrong the first time and had to do it again, then complains about them in the photographs and the way they're looking after they gave him the runaround. This was always going to be a not the arsehole here, but I can't believe the audacity of your brother to treat you the way he is, then ask you to house sit as well. I totally forgot about that by the end of it, the initial question. I was just like totally shocked the way your brother has treated you. Not the arsehole from me, but Petty Betty says, like the saying goes, no good deed goes unpunished. You bend over backwards for your brother and sister-in-law, and they didn't show an ounce of gratitude. I don't know what it is about weddings that brings out one's inner arsehole, but these kind of stories makes me want to elope if I ever get married. It's rare we hear about a groomzilla. Your brother sounds like a piece of work, and I would have laughed in his face. Not the arsehole, OP. Good for you for sticking up for yourself. OP replies to that saying, I get that people want this perfect day. They want to feel their day was magical. But how the hell is it magical when you treat the people you supposedly love like shit, and the fact that he just doesn't care? I can't imagine treating my brother that way, especially if he was helping me. I always appreciated his help in the past. I just wish he could understand. I'm a college student who couldn't contribute money, so I contributed time. But on top of not appreciating that, he tried to stick me with a bill. Oh yeah, I totally forgot about that as well. Aggravating patient says, not the arsehole, but house sitting is usually a treat. You could rearrange their furniture, go through their cupboards, eat all their food and drink their booze. Al Dennis98 said, not the arsehole, he treated you like shit and I wouldn't be doing any favours for him anytime soon. Especially without an apology. Fran PW1 says, not the arsehole. No is a complete sentence. You don't owe him any explanation, just no. He's lucky you're still talking to him after what they did to you. Good luck to you. Experience Amazing 963 says, not the arsehole. He treated you like dirt, and while you could maybe chalk it up to an extreme groomzilla moment, until such times as both of them acknowledge it and apologise, they can kick rocks. We gotta kick rocks, people.
Yes.
Just need a pound sand now. And Judgmental Panda says, not the arsehole. Have to say, he is pretty damn arrogant to ask someone he just screwed over to watch over his place while he is away.
Yeah,
Has it not
seriously.
occurred to him what could happen to his place if you just show him the same level of respect he has shown you? On topic, if he hasn't bothered to make up for that incident, he can't call you petty for being mad about it. And one more from Zoe Satans who says, and quotes, he kept the money I had paid. He booked our rooms for us and we gave him the money. And says, tell your brother to give the money he stole from you before he dares ask for anything. Don't let that slide just because he got married. Lots of people get married, it's nothing special, and especially not a reason to become a user. Of course, he will not admit to any wrongdoing. This would mean he has to make an effort towards other people and try to fix it, which would ruin his honeymoon. Now, what do you guys make of this one? What would you do if you found yourself in this situation? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll move on to the next one. This story is from Mad MOH2710, titled, Am I the arsehole for refusing to be my best friend Maid after she told my fiance is not invited to the wedding? I've been dating my fiance for 10 years, and we're expecting a baby which is due in March. We'll elope before the baby arrives for legal reasons, but we'll do it in January so we'll be able to organise a small party for family and close friends. No more than 20 people. My best friend and her future husband will be invited though. So straight to the point. My best friend is getting married in a month. She's been with her fiance for a year, and they got engaged within 6 months. Personally, that's too rushed in my opinion, but it's her life. So if she believes that this is the right man, this is her decision. Once they got engaged around April, she asked me to be her maid of honor. She then started telling me the plans about how she plans on having a huge celebration with 200 plus guests. Vaccination rates are very high in my country, and most restrictions are erased since cases are also very low. Naturally, I assume my fiance would be invited. My best friend has known him for 10 years, and they are also friendly. Most of our friends are married, so their spouses get an automatic invite. I assume my fiance would be invited too, but my BFF decided to notify me that he's not invited. Literally yesterday during a chat we had, and I told her about the suit my fiance bought. She told me, I never told you X is invited though. I asked her what she meant by that. She said that only married and long-term couples are invited to the wedding. I reminded her, I'm engaged to that man. We're expecting a kid together, and I've been with him for 10 years.
Yeah,
while we're also planning to get eloped in a few months.
The definition of a
She
long-term
objected,
couple.
and she didn't invite him because she doesn't see our relationship as valid. If it took us so long to make our relationship legal, and how if we've been waiting 10 years to take the next step, then our relationship bond is probably not that strong. Told her that's not her decision to make, and she doesn't get to decide whether my relationship is valid or not. She insisted on her decision and said, I'll not invite him. I decide who comes and who doesn't. And since I don't think your relationship is as strong as it should be, you may break up soon. And I don't want an ex existing in my wedding pictures. Accept it or leave. I'm not in the mood to deal with that drama.
What even?
I told her she's being ridiculous, assuming that we might break up based on her bizarre beliefs, and reminded her I've been with that man for 10 years, while she's been with her man for less than 1 year, and she's ridiculous for thinking she can dictate who's serious and who isn't. I told her I'm dropping the Maid role because I refuse to be disrespected like that, and told her she can search for someone new to torture, but not me. Our mutual friends have told me I'm the asshole for dropping out of the wedding, and how I should respect the bride's decision. I respect it, but I won't be a part of it. Am I the asshole?
No.
Who is she to judge your relationship in this one? It's quite an easy not the asshole. Will I go as far as saying bridezilla? Shall I? Yes, I shall. This is a bridezilla we're dealing with right here. Thinks she has the right to decide when your relationship is valid or not. And this is meant to be your friend. Imagine her enemies. Absolutely not the arsehole to me. But that GP says not the arsehole. Holy shit, that's a bridezilla and a terrible friend. Like seriously, who does that to your supposedly best friend? Honestly, after that kind of disrespect, I'm surprised you're still going to the wedding. Newbie Merc says not the arsehole. I wouldn't attend the wedding at all. For my wedding, we didn't invite all boyfriends and girlfriends for the reason the bride described. But 10 years engaged and pregnant. That's just absurd to not consider you a real couple. I hope you replies that saying the bizarre part is she's invited boyfriends and girlfriends of several guests. The reason she doesn't consider my relationship valid is because it took us so long to get engaged, and we're now deciding on the elopement. Her logic is if we're really serious, we wouldn't wait that long. What? Odd Meat says not the arsehole, but sadly, a lot of people think like this. I would not invite her and her husband either, since they might end up divorcing. The Dairy says not the arsehole. Better to lose her now if she's that judgmental about your 10-year relationship. Rumsoak Chap says not the arsehole. Normally I would say a wedding rules, but this seems illogical and unfair, especially if she's invited other couples and there's no COVID.
Chill the fuck out.
Open replies to that one saying, I respect that it's her wedding and her rules. It's none of my business to decide on her guest list, but I find this rule disrespectful, so I'll step down instead of begging her to invite my fiance. Plus year I have around 150 to 200 guests. Right. And let's have one more from Curious Seahorse 1 who says, not the arsehole. She sounds like an idiot who may have a secret issue with your fiance. She has the right to her opinion, and you have the right to yours. She can't expect you to accept a bullshit excuse that after 10 plus years of commitment, her piece of paper validates her relationship more than yours. Now, what do you guys make of this story? How would you react if your supposed best friend came up to you and said this? Madness. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll move on to another story.
Come on.
And our next story comes from Greyhair76, titled, Am I the Arsehole for grounding my son after he decorated his room without his stepmother? I, 47 male, have two sons from my past marriage, Abel 16 and Michael 15. When I got remarried 6 years ago, Abel was very accepting and got on great with his new stepmom, Laurie. Michael put up a fuss and was adamant about being with his mum full time. I fought like hell to keep him in my custody, but once he hits 13, the agreement changed anyways. He stays with his mum half the month and with us the other half.
Like
we moved last year and Laurie and Abel have spent the time decorating Abel's room and making it his own. Michael was offered the same thing recently. Laurie offered to take him to IKEA, Best Buy, and some other store to find new furniture and have a day to put the room together. He said he'd think about it, and she respected that but still showed him paint colours, beds and stuff to get him excited about it. Last weekend he came home with a pod full of furniture his mum bought him. I asked him about it, and he said his mum helped him pick out the furniture, and was coming round in a few to help him build it and arrange everything. I told Laurie as a heads up, and she was absolutely crushed. I took my son aside and told him the kind and fair thing to do would be to invite Laurie to help. He said, nah, and told me he wanted to build with his mum. Unbeknownst to me, Laurie did try to join them and asked if they needed help, but my son sent her away and locked the door so she wouldn't come back.
Let him spend time with his
After
fucking
Laurie
mom.
told me this, I grounded him for a week and told him at least he'd enjoy the room his mum helped decorate.
Dude.
He, of course, left early to his mother's and told me he'd see me on our next
rotation.
Sounds
like this is
Laurie
why
said
he
I
likes
shouldn't
to
have grounded him for spending time with his mum. My ex-wife is saying if I keep treating him like this, I won't see Michael outside of holidays and birthdays.
Yeah.
Edit for info.
Literally.
My son told me his mum was coming to help him decorate, and I did say yes, hoping he'd make it a stepmom and mum type of thing.
Dude.
I wasn't expecting to completely exclude Laurie. To those who must know why our marriage ended, my wife came out and realised she couldn't be with me and be her most authentic self. I do not harbour hate towards her. If that can explain why I don't hate my ex-wife, and why my current wife wasn't too upset to see her in the house. My marriage ended as amicable as possible until it came to custody. Now, I'm going to go for one of my out there takes on this one. And I'm definitely going to say you are the arsehole in this situation. Firstly, for trying to force the relationship. Absolutely. But I did find it strange, that mother's coming round to your house with your partner there and she's going to build the furniture with your son. I mean, it's a wonderful thing that you're allowing this to happen and there's nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong. If you guys have got a great co-parenting relationship, I think it's fantastic. But for some reason that did feel a wee bit strange to me. But again, what I did find it a bit weird as well is, they were building this furniture in this room, then Laurie come and offered to help, and son turned around and basically shut the door on Laurie, and the mother didn't say anything, didn't say, that was a bit disrespectful to do. And I think as a parent, it's important to point that sort of stuff out. I don't know fully what the relationship is like between Laurie and Mum in this, but, if they do see eye to eye with this whole family relationship, she should have turned around to Michael and said, that was a bit of a disrespectful thing to do. Can you go and apologise to Laurie and just say, you want it to be Mum and son time just for this thing. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I think it's verging on everyone's sucks here just because of that. Apart from Laurie. Laurie turned around and said that you shouldn't have grounded him for spending time with his mum, so he can see it as well. But JD Phoenix says you're the arsehole. This is how you end up with a kid going no contact with you as soon as they can. Michael told you to think about it. He went a different direction on his room. Even your current wife is on level that you're in the wrong here. Type 1 error says you're the arsehole. Michael has a mother and isn't interested in a mother-son relationship with your new wife. Michael wanted a new bedroom. You wanted him to have a bonding experience with your wife. He's made it clear that he's not interested in that. You need to respect his wishes or risk further alienating him. Books and Choke says you're the arsehole. The kid is allowed to want to spend time with his mum instead of your wife. Practical Shoe says you're the arsehole, your ex is right. Stop trying to force your son to like your new wife. You're just going to make him hate her more. He may never accept her, and that's 100% his right. You can't and shouldn't force him to have a relationship with her. He didn't do anything wrong by not wanting her involved with decorating his space. Jazz Like Humor says you're the arsehole. You can't force a relationship between your son and your current wife. You got married by choice. He got a new housemate where he had no say in the matter. Your wife, not his mum, and she's barely his stepmom. There is a legal relationship due to your marriage, but there is no way in which she's stepping into the place of his mother. If there is a task that you would typically rely on his mother to do, then you need to go to his mother, not trying to push him to do a mother thing with your wife. If you don't want his mother involved in decorating his room, then you, as his father and other parent, need to step up and do the work of helping him decorate, not trying to force your wife on him in place of his mother. And one more from the little fairy of death who says you're the arsehole. You're trying to force a relationship between them when Michael very clearly doesn't want to have one. He didn't even want to live with you, even part-time.
Yeah,
now,
exactly.
What do you guys make of that story and all of today's stories? If you choose to share your thoughts, I would love to hear them. A huge thank you for spending 20 to 30 minutes with me today, getting involved in the channel. It means the absolute world. A huge thank you from the bottom of my heart, and I will see you, you cheeky so-and-so, in the next one. Take care, guys. Much love.
What about all these extra pieces? Okay, maybe they're just extra pieces. Ta-da!
What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you are well. My name is Mark, and today we're checking out some Neighbors from Hell, Nightmare Neighbors, whatever you want to call it. I absolutely love it.
Okay.
And if you are new here and love a Reddit story, consider hitting that subscribe button, maybe that notification bell too, and let's jump straight in to today's stories.
Over there.
Much love, guys.
Are you a cat?
Now, our first story is coming from Blossom Cup 69, titled, "My neighbor is telling everyone I'm lying about my pregnancy." Long story short, my neighbor, we were calling Greg, was into me. We made small talk once in an elevator, and a week later when he saw me walk outside, he chased me down the street and asked where I was going. When I told him to get coffee, he asked if he could come. I'm in a relationship and was 15 weeks pregnant at the time, but not showing at all. I told him I was meeting a friend at coffee, so he would leave me alone. He then asked our doorman for my phone number, claiming I told him I could give it to him. I wish my door people would have asked me first, but they gave it to him. Ever since, he's been non-stop texting me, asking me to do stuff. Finally today, I replied and told him I'm moving into a house in October with my long-term partner, that I'm pregnant, and while I think he's a nice person, I'm not interested in spending time together. He replied and said, lol, you don't have to make things up just to not hang out. I didn't even want to have sex with you. I replied and said, not making anything up, but okay. Take care and best of luck to you. Now I've had multiple people in my building tell me that Greg is running around telling everyone I'm lying about being pregnant and being in a relationship because I don't want to date him. I'm shocked that a 35-year-old man is acting this way. The good news is my other neighbors know he's full of shit, but it's gonna be so uncomfortable now if I run into him in person. I feel like I'm in high school. And a lot of people in the comments on this one just saying, go to your building management to try and get this resolved. That the staff there shouldn't be giving out your number just willy-nilly. But as
the staff
always,
should not give out their number. That's so
it always takes me to Ask Reddit, where people ask, who is the worst neighbor you've ever had, and what did they do to become so? And this comment from your fave Nate, who says, I live in a row house in a bad part of my city. Not the best accommodations, I know, but you take what you can get. I've had a lot of shit neighbors over the years, and the house next to mine has been raided 3 times by the police. Right. Twice for drug dealers, once for a guy that came here from New York State, I'm in PA, who was wanted for murder. Not the nicest neighborhood, so obviously bad neighbors are going to come around. But one family takes the cake. As you may have guessed, my neighbors change every few months, usually due to eviction. So a couple of years ago, in moves a middle-aged woman with her teenage son and daughter who was something like 6 years old. New neighbors, no big deal. I didn't go to greet them or anything. That stuff is pretty atypical here. It's kind of live and let live place. On the first night, I noticed there would be problems. The music was blasting from the kids' room. He was right next to me, against the same wall, until 11 p.m. This actually isn't bad in my neighborhood, but what was bad was what made it stop. He only turned it off once his mum started yelling at him to do so, and then she kept yelling. She was screaming her head off at him for every insignificant little detail about his room that he moved into today.
The leaves are little tiny frogs.
I just went downstairs to sleep on the couch instead of bothering to try and sleep with that noise going. Fast forward a couple of days, and I'm answering the door on a Saturday morning, only to see that it's in fact the lady from next door. I was polite and courteous, as was she, and she had said she just wanted to get to know her new neighbours. We spoke for maybe 5 minutes before I got to the catch. She wanted to borrow $6,000. That was the cost for her husband's bail, and it would mean a lot to her if, as her neighbour, I would loan her $6,000. I was apologetic as I could manage and turned her down.
I would literally laugh in her face and shut the door.
Started off screaming and ranting about what a horrible person I was and how unchristian I was.
No.
Not a Christian, and she hated me. No biggie, closed the door, went inside, turned on some music and made a sandwich. A couple hours later, I'm going to head downtown to meet up with some friends. I walk downstairs to my door, which has glass panes, and see, she is still fucking standing there. Okay. She waited for me to come back for 2 hours. The second she sees me, she is back to yelling. So I took the back door out of the house and took the long way to the bus stop. Coming home, I've almost forgotten about the bitch. I got a ride home from a friend, and a few of us are going to chill at my house for the rest of the night. It's been about 7 hours, now 11 p.m. When we drive up, I literally just stop mid-conversation to say, no fucking way.
She's still there?
My friends were obviously confused until I explained that the bitch was still fucking standing there.
No way.
At this point, I realised that ignoring her was not working, so I apologised to my friends ahead of time. Then we went up to the door to confront her. Don't remember much of what she yelled about, except that she was so offended that I would sneak by her like that. Like I was supposed to give a shit. Anyway, we essentially collectively shouted her down and told her to fuck herself with a blowtorch until she left. As we're staying up late, shooting the shit, laughing at my crazy neighbour and drinking, we hear her ranting at her son again all night. Come 5 a.m, the cops are knocking on my door and asking if I saw the son, who apparently stole his mother's car and drove off. Can't say I approve of the method, but I definitely approve of the objective. He came back a couple of days later. As far as I'm aware, no charges were pressed. So for the next 5 months, this bitch was a constant migraine in my life. she would actually go outside with one of those little kiddie snow shovels, shovel up any dog shit from around the block and deposit it on my front door. I caught her doing this multiple times. I would just shovel it into the bed of a tree sitting out front. That's good for it, right? I'm not a gardener. Until one day a friend of mine came over and was asking what the shit was about. So then he threw it through our open window on the third floor. Good fucking day. Another fun event consisted of her dumping paint cans on the sidewalk in front of my house. I actually liked that one. When I left in the morning, it was like walking on a fucking rainbow. My personal favourite, though, was when they were putting in an air conditioner. Her son was attempting to put it in the third floor window and doing a poor job of it. Looked like he had never done it before. So, being that I had no beef with the kid, I yelled up some advice as I was walking towards the bus stop that day. Then I hear from inside, "Who said that?" And she comes storming up to the window, looks out, sees me, and then proceeds to pry her son away from the window. She shoves the air conditioner into his arms and pushed the fucking storm window out of its frame and out at me. She missed, but the attempt was not forgotten. She left that month due to eviction. Best news I've ever had in my life. Tim O'Brien 93 says, my next door neighbour growing up had a death in the family. Day of the funeral, neighbour comes to the door and asks if my dad can borrow a tie. My father complies and gives him a nice black silk tie, suitably appropriate for the occasion. We show up to the funeral and see the neighbour strangely not wearing the tie he borrowed. Look at the casket and my dad's tie is being worn by the corpse.
No.
Not wanting to be rude, nothing is said, and as a result, the tie was buried with the corpse, never to be seen again.
Oh God!
There isn't exactly much you can do in that situation. You can't go, well, that's my tie, I just want that back a second. It's just not going to happen, is it? This Benedict Beethoven says, I live next to these two absolutely crazy people. The first weird thing, the dude shows up at my house at 9 p.m, asking for bus fare. The bus runs nowhere near our neighbourhood. Next I found the woman he lived with nearly beat down another neighbour's door at 2 a.m, asking to use the phone to call 911, because her son was having an asthma attack. She dialed a full 10-digit number, so my same neighbour asked whom she was calling. She explained that her uncle was a doctor, but when he didn't answer, she just said thank you and started to leave. My same neighbour asked about getting medical help for her son, and the crazy neighbour said he'd be fine. She then sat outside on her porch for hours according to my same neighbour. The next day, a man called from the number she had dialed, asking who called. My neighbour explained the situation, and the man verbatim said, oh, I had a relationship with that woman. She is crazy. And the icing on the cake, they ran an extension cord to another neighbour's crawl space outlet and were stealing electricity from him. Just batty freaking people. A deleted user says, so I used to live on the campus of this big private school because my parents were teachers there. And we lived in this big apartment complex that also housed student dorms. We had two other teacher families as neighbours. Going to change their names for this. So one was the Smiths, a nice elderly couple. The husband was the dean and used to work as the sheriff of the police in town until he got seriously injured and had to retire. I had the feeling he was seriously depressed. He was a quiet, solitary man with a serious smoking problem he could never overcome. Then there were the Jackoffs, a couple of drama teachers new to the school and their two sons, both of whom were probably around 8 years old at the most. Mrs. Smith was fond of gardening. The Smiths had an apartment on the ground floor, so they were allowed to garden the areas around their doors and windows. Beautiful flower arrangements and stuff, lots of bird feeders. Then one day, one of the two young Jackoffs, who usually played in the area around the garden, decided to rip up all the flowers and knock down the bird feeders. The Smiths were upset, but Mr. and Mrs. Jackoff refused to apologise. In fact, it was not necessary for the kids to either, so things got tense fast. Mr. Smith was fond of wildlife, hence all the bird feeders in the garden. The apartment was also situated on a hill overlooking a pond that attracted tons of ducks, geese, and herons. One day he comes home with a cage full of ducks that were originally going to be slaughtered, but he rescued. This was back when I was 9 or 10, so I don't remember all the details as to how he found them / got them. They couldn't fly, and he let them loose to live on the pond. All was good. Then one day the Jackoffs complained to top brass that the ducks were too loud. This pissed me off because they always blasted a radio out the window while the kids were playing and ripping up the garden, and were a danger to the kids. It also helped them that they were long-time friends with the headmaster, even before they started teaching there. So Mr. Smith was forced to return the ducks to where he got them. Most likely, they were killed. So yeah, the Jackoffs were horrible people. Everyone hated them, but nobody could do much because of their friends in high places. parents were already upset with the people in charge, so we moved soon after. And this next one's from Blood Art. My neighbor threatened to kill me, then actually tried. This will be a long
Wait,
post.
your toe from when you stubbed it the other day?
Ish area on the lower level of a home that
or did you stub it again?
3 apartments, 1 upper, 2 lower units. The unit above me was rented by a 50-ish male, family friend of our landlord, and I'd been there for 10 plus years. When I met him, this neighbor seemed nice enough, if a bit odd. He bragged about how intelligent he was and how the world would someday recognize mathematic brilliance. Should have known. Never trust math braggarts. Since I went to the school part-time and worked 2 jobs, I didn't see much of my neighbors. On the rare occasion that I had the time to relax at home, I would watch a movie and enjoy the chance to decompress. During one of these wondrous movie nights, I decided to watch an old comedy. Everything was great until about 10 minutes in, and I heard laughter coming from the wall behind my couch. Turns out the old stairwell that connected the upper and lower units was not properly sealed off, as I had been told. In fact, the only thing separating the 2 units was a flimsy bifold door and a latch hook. On the creepy neighbour's side, of course.
Oh, hell
My
fucking
couch was
no.
against the wall of the stairwell. My neighbour had been sitting on the stairs listening to me and the movie. What the hell?
That is
Thoroughly
bizarre.
creeped out, I confronted him about it. He admitted that he enjoyed listening to me on a daily basis. He especially liked the weekly phone calls I made to my grandma and told me which of my friends were allowed to continue visiting. He also highly disapproved of my frequent male visitors and felt it necessary to tell me only whores have male friends.
Oh, fuck no.
Apparently babysitting my young cousins makes me a whore. Who knew? Being a single female, this whole ordeal made me incredibly uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So I contacted the landlord.
He's
I tried being
literally
calm and reasonable, explaining that in our contract it states all access points, doors, stairwells, etc. have been sealed up according to county code to prevent access from one unit to another.
That's crazy.
I called him out, basically in the nicest and legally well-armed way I possibly could. I relayed the recent conversation with creepy upstairs neighbour and how the whole situation made me feel unsafe. And I would be withholding rent until the door situation was taken care of. My landlord's solution? He put soundproofing foam behind the door and told the neighbour to return the spare key to my apartment. Yeah. Apparently, creepy upstairs neighbour had a master key to the 2 lower units.
What?
Both occupied by young, single women.
Dude! What?
This charming detail was nowhere in the rental agreement. I promptly changed my locks, which pissed off upstairs neighbour to no end. So he started retaliating.
Dude, if he
called the sheriff's department
I'm sorry.
on a daily basis.
You changing your locks pisses him off means he knows that your locks have been changed, which means he has been breaking in. Which means you need to fucking call the fucking cops and move your ass anywhere else. Like, call a lawyer, like, call everyone. The FBI.
According to this neighbor, I was running a brothel. If only I had the time. Hoarding animals, running a drug cartel, running a dodgy business, which I can't say for obvious reasons. That was a fun visit from CPS.
What?
Torturing small animals, demolishing the house, oh, the list goes on. Being a broke-ass student with no family in the state, and friends that were equally broke / in shitty living situations, my only option was to deal with the craziness, carry pepper spray, and hope that I could find a less shitty room to rent in the meantime. I logged every incident, took photos, carried a tape recorder anytime I went outside, and even borrowed a camcorder to catch this guy on tape if he came in my house. Anytime something happened, I made sure to tell my landlord in email, so I had a written record. Of course, the landlord just turned around and told creepy neighbour I was complaining about him again, which just made things worse. I finally got this guy on tape coming into my apartment through the sealed stairwell door while I wasn't home. I had enough evidence to get a restraining order. Creepy neighbour's response to being served.
I did see the Tana Stalker video update, and I am worried for her. If, like, that shit's all true, because it's Tana, but, like, if that's true, which I'm gonna give her the benefit of the doubt that it is, because, like, her first one was, like, fuck no,
because he was mentally unstable. Can someone please tell me how releasing a mentally unstable man who threatened to kill someone is a good idea?
Yeah, what
When he was released, I was at home packing up my apartment. Good friends found me a place to crash for a while and were helping me to get the fuck out. One of the friends started to smell something like burning rubber, but we couldn't find the source. Then someone noticed the black smoke coming from under the shared laundry room door, which was inexplicitly locked from the creepy neighbor's side. Then smoke started coming through the stairwell door. We hauled ass outside, called the fire department and waited. Creepy neighbor started throwing glass bottles and oil-soaked rags separately down at us.
Oh my
We called
god.
the sheriff's department and backed the safe distance away. One friend popped down the road to see if the retired Marine was at home and was willing to lend a hand. Thankfully, he was.
Nice.
Creepy neighbor, pissed that I was not currently on fire, decided to come outside and finish the job. He brought a rather large kitchen knife with him. The friendly neighborhood Marine easily disarmed and pinned creepy neighbor until the police arrived.
I fucking knew it
Last
would get
I heard,
bad.
creepy neighbor was seeking professional help, and the landlord remodeled / sold the house.
Dude.
Isn't renting fun? Damn, and I can't imagine living in that kind of situation. And just thinking about it, there might be a guy sat on the stairwell behind you listening to your everyday to-day life and bringing it up in conversation. Yeah, that is creepy as hell. It freaked me out.
Fucking
I don't think I'll be able to stay there very long. And I know Opie was probably in a difficult situation and couldn't get out of there, but I'd literally stay anywhere. Anywhere apart from there.
Right? I'd literally go stay at a homeless shelter over staying at that place. Fucking
About 3
anywhere
years
else.
after we moved into our current townhouse,
Go get yourself arrested so you can stay in jail where it's safe.
Our townhome building is 6 units in a row. This new family has an itty bitty yappy dog. Now my family does our best to love all animals, but this dog, coupled with the owners, brought out our hate. Instead of doing something rational, they bought 5 10-foot leashes and chained them together. From one of the 2 middle units, the little bastard had access to 3 different yards. Not only that, but the family had a tendency to leave for hours at a time, with the dog outside. One day, my dad had had enough. He decided to call the police and report them for neglect. Unfortunately, the owners arrived home before the police arrived. The officers finally showed, and they had a quick talk with them before leaving. For the next few days, the neighbors gave my dad the stink eye whenever they saw him. Several days later, my dad is sitting out on our deck, smoking a cigar. To his surprise, the local law enforcement officers rolled into the parking lot. A friendly-looking officer steps out the cruiser and greets him. Apparently, we've been reported for animal abuse. My dad chuckles as he looks down at our dog. On our patio was our dog, Harley. Rest in peace. He was a comfortably pudgy miniature Doberman pinscher. He lay in a shallow kiddie pool filled with water. Next to the pool, 2 bowls filled with food and water. The officer takes one good look at him, looks back at my dad, once more at the dog and says, "Well, I think we're done here. Sorry for the trouble, sir." The neighbors moved out a month later. Google in 1969 says a former neighbor used to lift a little terrier dog over the fence so it could shit in my yard. One time, I let my own dogs out late at night without glancing outside first, and a stupid terrier went apeshit and attacked them. I had to pick it up by the scruff and hold it in the air while it continued to do its best chainsaw impression, and neighbor lady screeched that I was trying to murder her dog. I realized pretty quickly that this was not a person that would respond to reason, and finally had to start calling the cops when she wouldn't stop. In retaliation, she started throwing her dog turds at my window, smearing them on my cars, and leaving them in my mailbox. Spoke to the police again. One of them lives on my street and knew her well. And they basically told her if they ever received another complaint about this ever, they were going to arrest her and do everything in their power to make her life a living hell. I got a few cheap security cameras and made sure she knew about them. All silence and death stares after that, until she moved. I don't know what it is about nightmare neighbors. There's a thing about dog turds and spreading them and throwing them at people, isn't there? I just don't know what it is. And this one's from Tisa Spice, who says, "Ooh, I had the most psycho neighbor ever. I moved into a cheap flat, which shared a porch with a place next door. When I viewed the place, the porch was a little untidy, but I was assured it'd be sorted out. When I moved in, there were bags of dog shit on top, dog shit again, at the top of the outdoor stairs. The porch was filled with rubbish, some of it blocking my flat entrance, and there was an unholy stench about the place, to the point where I smelled of dog shit, just from being next door. I knocked on the neighbor's door a few times, but all that ever happened was a dog barked at me. It was obvious the animal was shitting in the flat, and it wasn't getting cleaned up. I ended up leaving a surprisingly polite note, which was answered with an angry one telling me to take any problems up with her boyfriend downstairs. I knocked on the door downstairs, and it was answered by a thug with a skinhead, combat trousers, and a t-shirt with a gun on it. He wasn't very helpful, but I learned that his girlfriend had the place upstairs paid for by housing benefit, but she lived downstairs with him and just kept the dog in there.
What?
I could tell I wasn't going to get anywhere.
What?
So I talked to the landlord and suggested they do an inspection, as they'd be horrified at what she'd done with the place. I also asked them to not let on another complaint to them, because I didn't want friction. Of course, they had to mention that a complaint had been made, so the guy started threatening me. I recorded him saying he'd break into my flat in the middle of the night and attack me. I pointed out that I was disabled. He wouldn't have to try very hard in the hope of shaming him, but it just got worse and worse. The police charged him, but he kept on at it. Eventually he figured out another tactic. Had some stuff in the shed. He trashed it all, then turned off my water mains. They turned off my electricity and smashed my fuse box so I couldn't turn it back on. I just carried on cheerfully, all the while bothering the landlord to let me out of my 6-month tenancy. To their shame, they didn't for months, but my cheerfulness really fucked with his head. He got crazier and crazier. Eventually, I was woken up at 3 a.m. by him screwing my door closed with an electric drill. At that point, I was quite scared, to be honest. I half expected him to torch the place. Eventually, I got out of the tenancy and left. When I went back to check over the place, he burst out of his flat and told me I was brave showing my face around there again. I turned to him and said, "Look, mate, the thing is, now all you are is a funny story to tell people about the lunatic I live next door to," and walked off. It felt so fucking good. Oh, and he and his girlfriend did eventually get kicked out too. Unfortunately, they still have the poor dog. They live next to some friends now, and I'm so fucking tempted to give them a piss frisbee or something, but I won't because I'm not a twat. And someone did ask, they said, "What's a piss frisbee?" Which I was thinking it as well. And apparently, you pee into a frisbee or a plate, freeze it, remove it from the plate, then slide the now frozen puck of urine under their door while they sleep, and it soaks and melts into the carpet. I don't know what to say to that.
What? Who?
Evil
Why?
genius, maybe.
What?
I don't know.
Who?
Burrito Mansa says, "We fell out with our neighbours directly across the street because the mum was always causing hassle and pitting other neighbours against one another with false gossip. Fast forward to Christmas Eve 2014 and the police suddenly turn up to arrest her. According to the neighbours directly beside them, who heard the shouting through the walls, she had attacked the husband, and when he called the police, she started attacking herself in order to play the victim card. Come New Year's Day, and out of the blue, the husband and his father knocks on our door to clear the air, and basically apologised for all the years that she had stirred the shit.
Yay.
He looked pretty awful, like he hadn't slept in weeks, as well as scratch marks. My heart went out to him. His dad was verging on tears when his son, when describing what he had gone through. It looks like he moved in with his new girlfriend, and he's looking a lot better. We always make sure to see how he's doing, and it looks like he's back to his old self again. And let's have one more from Wanderlost Stricken, who says, "The house next door to mine must have a curse that attracts horrible tenants. First, a large family with 5 kids lived there. The kids thought it was fun to do things like throw rocks and diapers against the side of my house or shoot arrows in my yard. At one point, their pregnant pet mouse escaped, and we had a mouse problem for the next few years. They finally moved, and the owner's daughter moved in with her boyfriend. They were young and threw lots of parties, not too big of a deal, just a little loud, until one night I hear something outside. Completely naked man standing on the hood of my car. After them, a slightly older couple moved in. Shortly after, they moved friends in. Constantly had people stopping by. A car would show up, pull into the garage, shut the door, and leave 5 minutes later. I immediately knew they were dealing drugs. An officer came by my house one day and told me that the woman living there had run off and asked that I'd call him immediately if I saw her at the house. She showed up a week or 2 later. I called him and she was arrested for counterfeit. Turns out she'd been printing money in her garage. After one moved, I would always say it couldn't get any worse, and it always did. Going from brats to drunkards to criminals. I have way more stories about the druggie, but my comment is getting long.
Oh my gosh.
Now, what do you guys make of the Nightmare Neighbour stories? Do you have one of your own? If you do, I would love to hear it. On our own subreddit r/MarkNarration. Share it
I haven't
there.
really had any Nightmare Neighbours.
Read out on the channel.
At least
and if you have a moment of your time, consider hitting that like button as well. Maybe the subscribe button if you do enjoy a Reddit story. Thank you so much for your time out your day.
Now to put these bitches on.
In the next one. Take care, guys. Much love.
Okay, have fun editing. Okay, let me see. I'm gonna do these tables first.
What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you are well. My name is Mark, and today we're checking out some r/motherbutt. And if you love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that subscribe? Make that notification bell too.
Tiny pieces.
Just that little bit. Cheap. cheeky little bit extra spicy, you can click that like button as well. And let's crack on with today's stories. Much love, guys. Now, our first story is coming from Additional Plant 843, titled, Am I the Arsehole for refusing to give up my seat on a flight due to a person who has a guide dog and is visiting a family member in hospital due to the fact that I have a severe dog allergy? I won't be going into specifics, since I'd rather avoid being identified. I have a severe dog allergy. I can have varying disease of severity when it comes to my reactions when I'm exposed to dogs. In short, being in a closed environment with a dog is out of the question. Earlier today, I was boarding my flight with my friends, since we're all going on vacation together. As I'm boarding, I'm finding that one of the passengers is boarding with a golden retriever, with a guide dog vest on it. I want to make it clear that I'm not questioning whether this was a guide dog or not. This was also a fairly small plane, since the flight would only take around an hour. As mentioned, I cannot be in a confined space with a dog. I told one of the flight attendants my concern, since I could have potentially ended up in hospital if I had to fly with this dog. The flight attendant informed the woman with the dog, who goes into hysterics, saying that she is visiting a sick family member and can't afford to miss her flight. I'm not sure how sick the family member in question was/is. The flight attendant asked if I'd be willing to miss the flight and catch the next one.
Yeah, I think that actually is on you for
you gotta miss first class if I was willing to do this. I said that unfortunately I wouldn't be able to do this since I paid for my vacation. Due to the size of the
your
plane,
allergies are your own responsibility. She was just trying to board a plane, and it's a service dog, so...
I put in my vacation over a sick family member.
Yeah, you are.
I got on the plane and sat with my friends. As I did this, a woman in a nearby seat told me that she wanted to inform me that I am the biggest bitch that she's ever met.
Yeah.
I didn't respond since I didn't want to cause a confrontation. My friends haven't said I'm in the wrong, but have kept making sarcastic jokes about the situation. Am I
Yeah, they're just
the
too
arsehole?
nice to tell you.
Now, as far as I'm aware, like when you're booking a flight, especially if you've got like an animal or I guess a guide dog as well, they inform the airline beforehand about what they're taking on board, so they will tell the airline that, you know, I've got a guide dog which I will have with me. And then I was wondering afterwards, is it the same with allergies as well? I'm pretty sure it's the same, you know, with like food allergies, like peanut allergies and stuff like that. So I was kind of assuming it'd be the same with animals as well. So I did a quick bit of Googling, which said, you know, airlines do tell passengers with severe allergy to contact them before the flight and ask not to be seated near another passenger. Obviously, this couldn't be the same case because you didn't want to be on the same flight. But I'm going to have to go...
you literally are banning them from the whole
flight. If I was in that
flight.
situation, you know, I'd miss a couple of hours of my vacation time.
You're definitely the
Someone
asshole.
will be able to get to see their relative. We don't know how severely ill they were, but still, they wasn't in good shape enough to go hysterical when they wasn't allowed on the flight.
Yeah.
As well as being offered like first class on the next flight, I think I would take up that offer as well. And just having the standpoint of having empathy for another human who's in like a panic situation, I think it would be the right thing to do, and it would make you the arsehole from my perspective. But Baltimore Badger 23 says you're the arsehole. 1, both you and the woman paid for your spot on the flight, so you are no more entitled to your seat than she is to hers. 2, the airline offered you a perfectly reasonable accommodation
they even
for the 2-hour
offered you first
delay.
class, bro.
3, assuming the woman is sincere, her need to be on the flight was greater than yours. 4, when you have an allergy of that severity, you should be informing the airline.
Yeah, if your allergy is that bad, it's your fucking responsibility to try to avoid shit.
Sarah Johnner says you're the arsehole. You have missed a few hours of vacation, whereas that woman's relative might not have had 2 extra hours to live. You are selfish and an arsehole. Noise proves nothing says info. Can you clarify why you refused a first class ticket in the flight that was 2 hours later? Given how your friends are reacting, seems like they would have been okay waiting, and you don't say anything about missing a connecting flight. Edited to add, from the extra info you did and didn't give, you're the arsehole. There's no wonder you don't want to be identified. I think deep down, you know how awful
no wonder
you were.
You don't want to be identified.
She would have let the airline know she had a service dog when she booked. She was going for a family emergency. You didn't tell the airline you had a life-threatening allergy when you booked. You would have mentioned this if you had. You were going on vacation. You were offered first-class tickets to delay your vacation by 2 hours.
Asshole.
The schnook says you're the arsehole. The ownership of your allergy is on you. Woman paid for her tickets just as you did and has every right to be on the flight with her service animal. And if you had a problem with it, you needed to remove yourself from the situation, not demand that she was removed. How entitled are you? Mew says this 1000%. Aside from all the other very valid and accurate You're the Arsehole posts, this one right here is huge and not enough people understand it. If you have an issue, you are the one who has to adjust. You have a dog allergy, then you have to switch planes. Oh, you are sitting in the theatre and a super tall person sits in front of you. You have to try and switch your seat, not the tall person. You go to an event and they don't have any food you like. You have to go get yourself some food you want somewhere. The event staff doesn't have to go do something special for you. You go to a restaurant and the table next to you is too loud for your liking, but not disrupting anyone else. You can try to switch tables. The loud family doesn't have to switch. If you don't like your situation, it's up to you to change your situation on your own. You don't force those things around you to change their situation to accommodate you. OP, you're the arsehole. And what's not, I don't quite agree with all of those points. I think there is some truth in there as well. But
the only one I disagreed with was the tall person.
In the comments
if
below.
You're super fucking tall, don't sit in the fucking front row. That's the dick move. Okay.
And our next story comes from Solaris0706. Am I the arsehole for refusing to stop calling my daughter my love? Some background: my 28 female older sister, 33 female, has a habit of making everything about her. Has done our whole lives. We are 2 of 4 siblings, another sister and a brother. For example, my wedding 4 years ago, she had a massive fight with significant other and then announced a pregnancy. 2 days later, told us it was a false alarm and she was just late. When I announced my pregnancy, she announced she had broken up with a significant other. Less than a week after I gave birth to my daughter, she announced she was engaged to a different guy that she's since broken up with as well. She has also done similar with other family members, including her own children. She has 3 children from 2 dads and has been engaged and broken up with 3 different guys in the last year. We had a family video chat to catch up so everyone could see my daughter, 4 months old. No one has had a great deal of face-to-face contact due to restrictions and distance. Some family members have yet to meet her in person. I use lots of nicknames for my daughter, mainly Bubble, Poppet, or a shortened version of her name. Think Izzy if her name was Isabel. I occasionally use terms of endearment such as sweetheart, my darling, or love. While on video chat, my sister asked me not to use my love as her new boyfriend calls her that.
What?
She's been talking to him for about a month and is now apparently moving in next week. I apologized and said I wouldn't use it around her, thinking this was reasonable. She said no. I had to never use it again.
What?
I wasn't allowed to call my daughter that, and she found it really inappropriate, as it really should just be used in a romantic setting. This confused me, and I refused. I said I could call my daughter whatever I pleased.
Literally,
I would simply avoid using the term in front of her. She got very defensive and went on to insult my parenting skills. Here is where I may be the arsehole. I told her, just because her new guy couldn't remember her name long enough to use it, and chances that I may have learning this, doesn't mean I need to change what I call my daughter.
No, you're definitely the asshole for that, but I agree with the choice.
Some family members are on my side. Some say I was too harsh.
That is fucking hilarious.
The asshole in this.
That's
no,
so funny.
You're definitely not the asshole in this situation. I come into the story with a title that said, "Am I the asshole for refusing to stop calling my daughter my love?" And I thought it was going to be like against your daughter's wishes, you know, like overstepping boundaries constantly and all that sort of thing, and not respecting your daughter when saying, you know, please stop calling me my love. I feel uncomfortable with it. But it wasn't that case at all, and it was your sister who, you know,
seems
all over the place, getting all offended by it. And I'm not sure what it's like in the US. If you have like, you have to let me know if you have like people calling you like these terms of endearment, like sweetheart, my love, and stuff like that.
Like you do. It's not like it's universal.
You go across to the local shop, and the person says my love, sweetheart, whatever happened. I kind of like it. Gives you a little boost in your day.
Depending where you are in the US, you get
but
that
definitely
more
not the
or
asshole
less.
from me.
But yeah.
90KM says not the asshole. Lol, ignore her. In the future, don't engage. Just say that's ridiculous. I'm not doing that, and move on. OP replies, thanks to your comment. Unfortunately, ignoring her doesn't work. She will continue trying to get attention until she gets it. She hates not being the center of attention. She's got used to the family babying her, so she
you're
gets
currently babying her.
JG700 says, not the asshole. The elderly lady in the post office calls me my love all the time. Your sister is nuts. Another one, but not so commonly used anymore, is treacle. You like my treacle? Just somebody else says, not the asshole. Feel bad for this woman's poor kids. Congrats on the baby.
Yes,
Every spread 5086 says not the arsehole. Love the comeback. She sounds like hard work. Maybe go low contact for peace of mind. OP says, to be honest, we aren't particularly high contact now. We video call occasionally, but she lives far away, so we don't see each other much, which is why her request is even more ridiculous. Annabelle says sorry, but your dig at her was awesome, not the arsehole. And Platica says, please don't call your daughter sweetheart. That's what I call my imaginary girlfriend of 6 weeks, so I'm pretty sure my situation takes precedence, not the arsehole. Now, what do you guys make of this story? Don't forget my question. Do you guys use terms of endearment like that in the US or anywhere else? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll move on to the next story.
Bizarre.
And our next story comes from Dolls. Am I the arsehole for being a nepotist and giving my brother a non-profit leadership position when that's literally the purpose of the non-profit? My 19 male brother, 17 male, is a high school senior. He wants desperately to get into a top college. His dream school has a 3% acceptance rate, and he is fully committed. There's nothing he wouldn't do to get in. He grinded to get perfect standardized test scores and pursued leadership positions in all his extracurriculars. He found 2 clubs to gain more extensive leadership experience for his application, and he would cold email dozens of professors to get a research position. My brother often stays up late into the night doing homework after he's done with all his extracurriculars, and a few times he just started crying out of nowhere from stress or exhaustion. I completely understand what he's going through, and I said I would help him do whatever it takes to gain an advantage over all the other applicants. Back when I was applying, me and several other students I know created non-profits and organizations to bolster our applications. Most of us had a theme to our application, like diverse kid with an interest in art, or STEM kid interested in machine learning or something. It makes you more appealing to admission officers if you have a narrative because it makes you seem human. For my brother, his theme is about music and helping disabled kids. I helped him create a non-profit dedicated to helping disabled kids gain music experience, and I technically created it. But I'm going to give all power and resources to my brother, since the whole point of it is to help him get into his dream school. My friend 20 male has a little brother in my brother's class who also needs leadership experience for his application, and asked me to consider his brother for a position. He suggested that my brother and his could be co-presidents. I said that I wouldn't entertain the idea because I want all the credit to be given to my brother. That's the whole reason for the existence of the non-profit. My friend got all spiteful and was like, Nepotism got it. That's literally the whole reason for this project.
That's the whole fucking point.
Win the application process.
He just doesn't want to do the work.
Am I the arsehole for not considering his proposal? And we're going to start straight away with a string of numbers who says, pretending to help people in order to gain an edge in college applications. Sounds sleazy, to be honest. To which Kitty Snowpants replies that saying, yeah, the whole thing seemed gross. He wants to exploit disabled kids for his own benefit, and he's having his brother take credit for all the work OP did. That's cheating, it's plagiarism, and that definitely makes OP an arsehole. Edit, typo and add in judgment. You're the arsehole. Season Positive says you're the arsehole, but not for reasons you might expect. People need to stop creating individual non-profits that lightly replicate or can work within another non-profit. Establishing a 501c3 is expensive, time-consuming, and resource-intense. I know that it's possible for you to have done this correctly, but tell us more about the board of your organization and your legal structure. What do your bylaws look like? Oh right, you might not have actually established a 501c3. Do you operate through a pass-through? Because this seems like the sort of thing a board would really care about. Edit, I don't think OP has actually created a non-profit at all. He might have an idea he's calling a non-profit, but it's not actually a registered 501c3 or anything. April Henley says, bit odd that your brother is fully committed to getting his preferred college, yet you were the one who had to create the not-for-profit for him. 1 second you helped him create it, then you admit you technically created it just to hand over to him. At the very least, I hope he genuinely does make a difference to those who have disabilities. But it's a bit gross if the interest is helping those with disabilities is purely just to look good to get into a college. Schneger says, you're the arsehole. You're all arseholes for making up fake charities just to look better on a college app. And one more from writer who said, you're the arsehole. If this was a charity in the UK, the Charity Commission would shut it down. The main aim of a charity or social enterprise should be its charitable aims, not the private gain of an employee or director. You are taking advantage of disabled people to further your brother's interests. That's gross, and if the company is incorporated, quite likely illegal. Now, what do you guys make of this one?
I agree with the take on the non-profit, but I
we'll move on to the next
definitely
story.
still think that the other guy can fuck
Now,
off.
our next story comes from Laureline, 1977, titled, "Am I the asshole for suggesting to my son that we get rid of his pets because my boyfriend is scared of them?"
What?
I wonder how this one's going to go. I'm a mother of a 17-year-old son named Joshua. Joshua has always loved things nobody else really wants to look at. He has a collection of beetles, centipedes, spiders, scorpions, and he might have stick bugs
like your new boyfriend's a pussy.
Sometimes he gets them from a pet shop, sometimes he just gets them from the woods. A year ago, I met and started dating a man named John. He's an amazing man.
A year ago.
Joshua have a surprisingly nice relationship. However, John is terrified of spiders. I am too, but made peace since Joshua pays for whatever he needs for the insects, only collects non-deadly ones, and they stay in his room downstairs. A few days ago, one of Joshua's tarantulas escaped, which rarely happens, but I guess he forgot to close the container. The spider was found and Joshua put it back in its container, but Josh freaked out and says he won't stay over anymore unless the spiders were gone. I decided to ask Joshua if he'd be willing to sell his spiders so we could build a life with John. Joshua didn't give me a chance, called me an asshole for suggesting it, and said that the spiders were staying no matter what. So now I'm torn between the wants and needs of the two men I love. So John has been around roughly a year. Your son?
That's what I'm saying.
All of his life, and you come with a line at the end that says, "I'm torn between the wants and needs of the two men I love."
Like they're equal to you?
I just think it'd be wrong for you to ask for your son to get rid of his pets. Simply being, this is your child, you know he has this hobby of collecting these pets, and John, who's only been around a year, is already throwing around sort of demands like that, like I can't come over, well there's spiders there and they need to be gone or whatever. Whereas the answer had been like, fine then, don't come over in future. Simple as that to me. But as we've covered like many stories with phobias and various things like that, and there's nothing wrong with having phobias, but asking a 17-year-old who's they're his pets that he's had for a very long time, always had them, then asking him to get rid of them isn't a way to be dealing with your phobia. Especially when you're pretty new in his life as well. And I'm considering that a year pretty new in his life. But Step Howell says, so now I'm torn between the wants and needs of the two men I love. And it says, well, I mean, one of them is your child, so you're hopefully not that torn. You're the arsehole. Exactly.
Bro, this looks so good.
Your son's animals aren't causing John any harm. And because he's a scaredy cat, your son is supposed to sacrifice his pet for some man you may have a life with.
Like, this guy's such a pussy.
Obedicta said, in quotes, so now I'm torn between the wants and needs of the two men I love, and says, well, let's see. One of those men is your minor son, and the other is your boyfriend. Yes. This shouldn't be that hard. You choose your minor son. You're not the arsehole for asking, but you're the arsehole for thinking there's an equal choice here.
Right?
Eric Go Boom says, you're the arsehole. You are torn between two men you love. Kid first, woman. Great Gazelle says, this is tough for me. I understand wanting to move in with your boyfriend, but I hate when parents make relationship decisions that negatively impact their children. You've only known this guy for a year. Why the rush to move him in? Would it hurt to wait until next year when your son is old enough to go away to college or move out on his own?
Yeah.
And one more from Little Miss Ensign says, once again, a person choosing a penis over a child. The child deserves a better mum. You're the arsehole. Now, what would you do in this situation? Put yourself in OP's shoes. You've got a partner who's potentially moving in soon, but they're afraid of, having spiders in the house, and your child has a spider. How would you deal with it? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll move on to the next one. And our next story comes from Netflix Chick 367, who says, am I the arsehole for my response when my colleague said I was emasculating my husband? I, female 36, married with 3 kids, worked in this company for 4 years. I transferred to another department and met new colleagues. We were having lunch days ago and small chats when my husband called asking where I put the ceramic pan. I told him where to find it and ended the call. My new colleague Ross, 40s, married with no kids, calling him passive-aggressive is the nicest thing you can say about him. Was looking confused throughout the phone call. He asked if my husband cooks. I said yes. Not just cooks, but he also cleans, takes care of the dishwashing, floor mopping, toilet scrubbing, grocery shopping, and deep cleaning the rooms once a week. Ross started laughing as I went on and listed the things my husband does, and then casually asked me who's the man in the house, then if my husband's busy being the housewife. I just glanced at him to explain as my colleagues kept staring. Ross said, okay, there's a man in the house, alright, and And I'm thinking it's you, since you've emasculated your husband to the point of mopping the floor.
Oh,
Others laughed. I said no, we're just splitting duties, and since I'm the current breadwinner, he took it upon himself to help make things balanced after he lost his job. My other female colleague pointed out that in fact, I am lucky my husband believes in partnership, unlike most husbands, which is a global issue. Ross said that I was indeed lucky to find a man with so little self-esteem to be gleefully and passionately taking the role of homemaker like that.
Maybe he likes to stay at home.
Extremely agitated after he proceeded to say that he was 100% sure my husband no longer feels like the man he used to be before losing his job.
Oh, really? I didn't know you guys were such good friends.
And sarcastically hope he at least still gets to keep his manhood in the bedroom. I was about to yell, but kept it civil and looked at him and said, "Oh, don't worry, he's doing just fine in the bedroom because he's always been enough of a man for me. And as a result, we have 3 kids. 3 kids while he, Ross on the other hand," everyone stopped for a second, and Ross had a shocked look on his face, and then lost bits, and it was fucking insensitive and pathetic of me for bringing his infertility into an argument and to use it as a low blow, and said that I should feel ashamed of myself for bragging about my kids, knowing that he can't have children for reasons he can't control. I replied that he should feel ashamed of himself for how he's talking about my husband, and told him maybe it's better they just stop getting himself involved in other people's business.
Maybe it's a good thing he can't have
doubled down, saying that he gets to get himself involved in whatever and wherever he wants because it's a free country.
No.
Other colleagues started getting involved as the argument escalated. Ross told me he will make sure to let HR know about the lovely conversation we had and walked away like
I'm sure HR would love
I got a lot
to
of
hear
heat
about that
from his guy friends, but one female colleague said Ross was rude, but I took it too far with what I said. Am I the arsehole?
No.
Edit. I have nothing against infertility.
How are you supposed to know
how
he's
devastating
infertile?
it is for families who want to have kids. I have 3 infertile close loved ones, and I feel secondhand
even if you
devastation
did,
for their pain and suffering.
He walked right
I
into
myself
it.
have had my share of pregnancy issues in the past, and I'm blessed even though my oldest has a chronic condition. Edit. People are saying I shouldn't have engaged further in the conversation, and the reason was because of how he was acting, and his word implying that I'm being unfair to my husband, and using his job loss to gain advantage. Supergog says that not the arsehole. Why is it a free country when he wants to share his opinion of your situation, but it's not okay the other way around? By saying I have no clue honestly. He just threw this phase in my face as it was supposed to shut me up or something. It was a weird statement and obviously a lame excuse. Jammy913 says not the arsehole. An old saying comes to mind. Don't dish it out. If you can't, take it. Higgs Boson Balloon says not the arsehole. If he's going to be judgmental about someone's masculinity without any invitation to do so, then he should be able to take what he dishes out. Fair game in my opinion.
Seriously?
You should reach out to HR yourself and give your side of the story. Explain that he was very disrespectful to you and your husband, and you were offended by his blatant misogyny. It's likely he will leave out his inappropriate comments in any official complaint. And from what it sounds like, you touched a very sensitive nerve. Like this infertility might literally be the reason he feels the need to attack someone else's masculinity.
Oh,
by the way,
your
husband has nothing to worry about. Real men treat partners as equals and divide the household labor in a fair manner. Your co-worker seems to think that even though you're the breadwinner, you should have to do the majority of the housework, which is utterly absurd and misogynistic. Little Eve says, why do men so often dish it out but get all defensive when it is bounced back? Not the arsehole, but I'd beat into it and go to HR first. Good luck, and I think you're very lucky to have a husband who obviously is a true partner. To which Yes replies that saying, because they are doing things like this to women, because they feel like socially that should be a safe area for them to exert their own personal anger and issues, as doing so to a man would get them a sock in the face. I mean, imagine some dude just slagging off to a new male colleague about how his wife isn't really a woman, and is secretly miserable and hates him. Sure, there are some men who would meekly take that, but it's not a safe bet to demean a man's wife in front of him, because an angry fellow man is likely a physical match / superior if things come to blows. Not so an angry woman, who has likely been trained since birth not to antagonize an angry man, as an angry man is a safety risk to almost any woman. So some men in turn get used to the knowledge that women are safe targets for these kind of interpersonal attacks, and they are completely caught off guard when women don't beat them up and take it. They become entitled to the safe space and feel it's unfair for a lonely woman to take it away. Now, what do you guys make of this one? What are your thoughts on all of today's stories if you choose to share them? Never any pressure though either. A huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for being involved today, getting involved in the channel and all that kind of good stuff. It means the absolute world. Hope you're having a great day, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Much love.
Oh shit, I just realized it's just been playing his videos on autoplay, and I haven't been linking them. I'm sorry. Please go subscribe. And I'm guessing this is what attaches it. Yup.
What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you're well. My name is Mark, and today we're checking out some more
And if you love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Let's just jump straight in to today's stories. Much love, guys. Now, our first story comes from Hallnum032, titled, Am I the Arsehole for making my daughter sleep in the backyard after what she did to our housemaid? My male 46 daughter, 16, is a high school junior. I noticed recently that she's been behaving in a bad manner, constantly commenting on other people's looks, belongings, calling them stuff that isn't cool, and just being insensitive. It's like she lost a filter or something, because she's usually polite, but my wife suspected that our daughter's sudden misbehavior occurred after she started hanging out with some new girls from the school. Basically the mean type, and I've picked up their behavior. I've sat with my daughter and had many discussions about how her behavior has been negatively affecting everyone around her. Our housemaid is the person most affected here, and my daughter has chosen her to be her target for her hair, clothes, etiquette, criticism. She has complained about our daughter calling her offensive names like filthy and gross for cleaning certain areas in our house. I took a stand and explicitly told my daughter I'd punish her if she ever said stuff like that to our housemaid again.
What's wrong with how you're raising your child?
My daughter had a party to go to. Earlier that day, she called our housemaid filthy, so I grounded her by not letting her go to the party. She threw a fit and called her housemaid a liar, saying she never called her that. That was the end of it. Days later, my daughter came to me saying she couldn't find her iPhone after looking everywhere. She asked me to call her number, and I did. My wife and I were stunned to discover that the iPhone was ringing inside our housemaid's bag. I had a confrontation with her immediately, and she denied and cried, saying she never touched the phone, nor had any idea how it got there. I noticed my daughter calling her a thief repeatedly, so I told her to stop and go to her room. I checked the indoor camera before continuing the argument, and saw my daughter place her iPhone inside our housemaid's bag. I was livid. I apologized to the housemaid and gave her the rest of the day off. I then showed the video to my daughter, and she was absolutely speechless. I said what she did was immoral and straight up offensive to tamper with that poor woman's livelihood over a petty party she couldn't go to. I told her she was grounded, will have to spend the rest of the night in the backyard. She is a germaphobe, but she cried, begging me to not make her sleep with the dirt, insects, and hot temperature. I refused to discuss it, or I'd make it too nice. My wife said I should go easy on her, but I said calling people filthy and accusing them of stealing wasn't okay. In fact, it was the absolute worst. I then went through with my punishment. The reason I chose this punishment was because of the fact that my daughter says she is a germaphobe and uses this as an excuse to insult others' hygiene and appearance. Our backyard has dirt and bugs in it, and this kind of thing gets her uncomfortable, but other than that, the backyard is 100% safe. Question, why doesn't she clean up and do house chores as punishment instead? And then it says, because I've already tried this punishment before and it didn't work because she deliberately stopped eating for days to get out of it and ended up in the emergency department for low blood pressure. And we're going to start off with Mr. Gregor, who says, not the arsehole, but you should give your housekeeper a week off with pay and make your daughter take her place unpaid.
Yes,
John says, I'd make her do the housemaid's jobs for 2 weeks, but pay the housemaid for the work. You're not the arsehole to come down hard on her though and knock it on the head. Cat Bean says, not the arsehole. You should pay the maid a week's salary and make your daughter do all the housework for a week. K Nobi says, your daughter deserves a DEFCON 1 level punishment. That's some fucked up shit she did. That said, I'd probably pick something besides making her sleep in the backyard. Too temporary, too unusual, too easy for her to make herself out to be the victim. It's both too much and not enough. Spend 1 weekend per month of her grounded without phone, picking up trash on the side of the road with her. An outrageous relief says, there's something seriously wrong with your daughter that goes beyond the simple am I the arsehole dilemma. This is way beyond mean girl stuff and downright sociopathic. I think you should skip to the therapy part there to fix her. She's a broken person, and keep her grounded for her safety and the safety of the rest of humanity. And Are You Falcon Kitten says, everyone sucks here. Your daughter deserves to be severely punished. What she did is completely unacceptable, and there should be serious consequences. But this is a really inappropriate way to punish her, especially since your wife disagreed and you overruled her. What gives you the right to make this choice without her? And kicked your daughter out. This is abusive behavior. You're not going to teach your daughter not to be an asshole by being an asshole to her. You should be able to discipline your child without making her feel she doesn't have safe housing.
Saying everything.
Especially since you mentioned she's a germaphobe. You deliberately chose a punishment that would trigger her phobia. Maybe she didn't learn her bullying behavior at school. Edit. Your edit doesn't make this better. If your daughter gets so upset she starved herself and ends up in ER, then she needs therapy. That's not a normal thing kids do. You choosing to make her feel like she doesn't have safe housing isn't going to fix the issue. She's already clearly struggling. What she did was awful, but you're an adult, and I think you're worse. You've ignored the situation until it got unbearable, and then made her sleep in the dirt. And Kawaii says everyone sucks here except the maid. You're not the arsehole because you punished her, but the punishment was very strange. Sleeping outside. For a young girl, anything
such a
could
weird
happen.
thing.
Community service, in a soup kitchen or something might have been better.
It's
I agree with therapy reading the edits. Do not make your children sleep outside. Now, what do you guys make of our first story? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll move on to the next one. And our next story comes from Am I the Arsehole Grandson? Titled, Am I the Arsehole for refusing to stop seeing my granddaughter despite my son's wishes? My son, 40, is what people call a ladies' man. I had no problem with it until last year, when he got a girl 20 pregnant because he said that condoms don't work for him, so they had unprotected sex. When he found out about the baby, he blocked the mum and ghosted her for a month. He came to tell me about it once his baby's mum reached out again, saying that he didn't have to care for the baby, but that he had to pay child support. I was shocked and told him that he could either step up or not, but that I would have a relationship with the child because it's my only grandchild. He chose to not step up and tried to fight child support, but a month ago he was placed on it.
What a fucking asshole.
Now that my granddaughter Lily is born, I've been helping pay for everything,
and neither do responsibilities. Like, Kate, then go die.
So his payment will go down. I am very disappointed in him. I watched Lily during her mum's classes and pay for her to have a nanny so the mum can work hard to get her degree. Money is no problem for my family, but my son is very angry that I am helping them out. He says that they should not get money, and that if the mum needed help, then she should have aborted it. I told him that I would continue to help them because my granddaughter is innocent in this, and that he was the one who refused to wear a condom, so they should not have their life ruined. He said it's either him or them, and I said I would always help my granddaughter. He has stopped talking to me, and my daughter said that I went too far. I should just cut ties with them. Am I the arsehole for helping them against my son's wishes?
No.
Now, after reading this one, I had to go back and look at the age, and it was 40 years
He's
old.
40? No. And he fucked a 20-year-old and ruined her life like that? Wow. He is psychotic. You need to disown him, take him out of the will. Absolutely fuck this guy.
I'm really shocked.
I'm shocked he turned out like this for how nice OP seems.
They're like, oh yeah, I'm really going to just cut off my granddaughter for someone who acts the way he does.
Wow. What a piece of shit.
Eneskiva says, not the arsehole, but your son is a giant arsehole. He's entitled and selfish and frankly creepy that at 40, he knocked up a 20-year-old.
Exactly. That's what I'm fucking saying.
Lynn says, wait, he's 40 and she's 20. Have you had a second to digest that truth? Good riddance. Let him be a spoiled, disgusting individual.
I feel like that's not being addressed.
Doing the right thing. Prince's lawyer says, in quotes, he said that condoms don't work for him, and then says your son is an arsehole and probably a walking STI vector.
Yes.
Quotes again saying, when he found out about the baby, he blocked the mum and ghosted her for a month. Then says, seriously, he's just awful. You must be ashamed of him on so many levels. Quotes one more time saying, now that my granddaughter Lily is born, I've been helping pay for everything because her mum is in college, and finishes off with
She's
that
paragraph.
Then he goes on to say, you sound like an amazing woman, grandmother, and general person.
I can't believe
Bluntly, your son's wishes don't mean shit. Your son's opinions about who cares for his child stopped being relevant a long time ago. I realize he's a grown man and his own master, but he needs to remember that you're a grown woman and your own master. Honestly, I've been in no contact with him over this kind of thing. There's something broken within him. He needs a serious attitude adjustment. Not the arsehole. And French says, not the arsehole. You're a good person. This poor girl. He can't even own his mistakes. He quit his job to pay less. That's very low. For his next birthday, you should offer him a vasectomy.
Like, what the hell?
Maleficent aunt says not the arsehole.
Oh my god,
so
please
tired
do
of men
that.
who refuse to wrap it, but then so shocked that unprotected sex leads to pregnancy.
I feel like
I tell him that I'd choose the granddaughter.
This is gonna be a hot take, but if you do
he
that
should have
shit,
worn a condom and got the snip.
Forced
I'd also change
vasectomy.
my will, so some of the
Fuck
estate
those
goes to the
people.
granddaughter, as it took litigation
Should not be
to
allowed
get him to
to
pay
ruin
child
people.
support. And Lou says not the arsehole. I would drop the son and keep the grandchild and their mother instead. If he's able to treat his own child like that, imagine how he'd treat you when you're old and frail and need him. Family isn't always blood. And let's have one more from Kind-Heartedness who says, oh, condoms just don't work for him. Well, abandoning your granddaughter just doesn't work for you. Not the arsehole. He's 40 and acting incredibly immature.
Who does
if he
that?
doesn't want to wear a condom, maybe you should get a vasectomy so this
fuck?
doesn't happen again. Good on you for stepping up when you shouldn't have had to and helping provide for her. Now, what do you guys make of this one? Ooh. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and we'll move on to the next story. And our next story comes from College Tuition 16548, titled Am I the Arsehole for only
Condoms don't work, but the pull-out method does? Okay.
Even though we had money from his dead brother's college fund.
Like, why don't condoms work?
Will always be a mother to my twin sons, Thomas and Sam. In the summer after they graduated, when they were 18, Thomas passed away. I can't begin to explain how broken I was. At that point, Sam had already accepted an offer to go to an Ivy League school. My husband and I had about 100k each saved up for the boys, but Sam's school was so expensive that the money wouldn't cover it. Before Thomas passed, Sam was fine taking out student loans to cover the rest. Then we lost Thomas. Less than 2 months after it happened, Sam asked if he could have the 100k that was set aside for Thomas.
Did we hear this one?
I lost it on him. I told him that it was Thomas's money and not his, and it deserved to go to Thomas. This is where I might have been the arsehole, because Sam could have used that money, but he didn't get a cent of it. To be fair, my husband and I didn't get a cent of it either.
Nowhere.
We donated it all to various charities against drug driving in memory of Thomas. That was all about 10 years ago. Sam took out student loans, but he's so young and already a very successful lawyer. I believe he's paid most of the loans off by now, possibly all. If it matters at all, my husband and I contributed a significant amount, about 50k to his law school tuition as well.
That's not even close to
I thought we were past it, but the other day, Sam brought up how unfair it was for me to refuse to give him Thomas's money. We had a tearful argument over it, and I just don't know what to think. If I could do it again, I still don't think I would give that money to Sam. Does that make me an arsehole?
Yes.
Edit, because some people are confused about the way I worded things. Here's a better explanation of the money. We had 2 separate college accounts for the boys. Each account had 100k in it. After Thomas passed, Sam still got the 100k he'd always knew he'd get. He just didn't get the additional 100k from Thomas's account. We never took money away from Sam, we just didn't give him any extra money that he wouldn't have had if Thomas had been alive. Now, obviously, there's going to be a lot of grief in this story from both Mum and Sam as well, the brother. Let's not forget that. And whenever we cover grief-based stories, I always say, everyone grieves in different ways and reacts in different ways. So there could be decisions based on grief in this story. We just don't know that. And whilst
it's not like the money is going
asking
somewhere
for that money and being upset about not getting it did bother me. I got to admit that. But I got to say, if I was in Mum's situation in this story, and I know it's incredibly difficult because there may be decisions based on grief once again, but I'd like to say that if I was in that position and I saw my other son, has a massive debt, I wouldn't donate that other portion of the money to charity. I would definitely be giving it to my other child for them, for their education. And partially in my head, because I think that's what the other brother may want as well. But obviously I don't know.
That's what I'm saying.
That may be unfair to say. And that would just be sort of my thinking on it, what I might do if I was in that position. But a lot of the time when we cover these types of stories, to do with college tuition and stuff like that, or parents' money being handed down, we usually say it's the parents' money, and up until the point it's actually handed over, and the other person.
Yeah, but the fact that they donated it makes me feel like.
But obviously, it's a bit more of a different situation. Let's check out some comments to see what they say. And we'll start with Groggy Doggy, who says, "You're the arsehole. Although I'm sorry for your loss, your living son is grieving too. His life was forever affected by his brother's loss. You could have supported him and made it easier by helping him financially, and instead you made it clear that his brother's memory is more of a priority to you. Surely Thomas would have wanted that money to help his brother.
That's what I'm saying.
If I was your remaining child, I would have been so heartbroken. Edit to all the people saying it's a ridiculous amount. This was not party money. It's not money the living brother is going to spend on luxuries, cars, and houses. This is a college fund. The money goes
the stuff in the back that people did.
The stress of taking out loans. His parents specifically saved that money for education uses.
Hell yeah.
In addition, the reason it was asked for so soon is probably because the remaining brother is thinking about and planning for college. My judgment is based purely on the fact that their living son is hurting too, and will probably affect the rest of his life. Any kind of support and stress relief could help him in a better place, and not taking out loans seems like a really fair desire to have after losing your literal other half. Ewan replies saying, if I'm reading this right, they gave him $150,000, and they're an arsehole for not making it $250,000. Really? Latter ad says, mild you're the arsehole. Look, I get wanting to donate it to different charities. There's nothing wrong with that. But you should not have lashed out at your son like that. Your wording is horrible. You could have said, we want to donate it to Thomas's name to people who have suffered like that at the hands of drunk drivers, and that would have been okay. Your son wasn't an arsehole for asking for the money. You were not an arsehole for denying him, but the way you did it was awful. You should sit him down and apologize for the way you reacted back then. You did not need to lose it on him like that. Affectionate Show says you're the arsehole. I am empathetic with you for losing your son, but still you're the arsehole here. I haven't lost a child myself, but I did lose my father and brother when I was a teenager, and had to see what my mother went through because of it. I also can relate to Sam. When my dad and brother died, my mum briefly did what you seem to, even still, be doing. She clung on to the memory of my brother and father to the extent that it made me feel like I was not as important, valued, or loved by her. She seemed to love their memory more than she loved me, and since I looked and acted like my father, it often seemed like she disliked being around me because I reminded her of them. I was already dealing with grief, and it felt like I was losing my mother too. Ooh. Thankfully, she eventually realized what she was doing, and that she still had a living child who needed and loved her. She very much still misses and mourns my brother even to this day, but she and I are very close. It doesn't seem like you ever made this realization and just continued to put up Thomas's memory ahead of Sam. You have no idea how hurtful it is to feel like your mother loves the memory of your brother more than she loves
I got these on Amazon.
Because you've been doing it to him
for
years.
Yeah, I think you can get them at Target and stuff.
Money your living child could have used. I understand your logic behind it, but at the end of the day, you chose to give money away when you could have helped your living son. You felt like you didn't deserve it because it was still his brother's. That is valuing Thomas's memory over Sam. It's very likely you could be doing other things too to make him feel less loved and valued for years. Loving your living son won't diminish Thomas's memory. Sam is still here for you. He still needs you. Even as an adult, we still benefit from love and emotional support from our parents, but it seems like his may be gated by a memory. And we'll finish up with Cinderella Ribbon, who says, I cannot understand
I'll put the rest of it in my other Lego box.
Safe for children's future college needs is still the parents' money, for them to use as they see fit. But somehow, when it involves the deeply traumatic death of one of the children, the parents are now the arsehole. A very strong
fuck. Alright, what time is
Sam
it?
Received every 3:30. Intended for his college.
Let's see, I've got a bunch of shit I have to do for the rest of the day.
And was incredibly
pause this, because we've already heard this, read the story anyway. But, yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was a fun little short Lego stream. Oh, thank you! Thank you for becoming a simp, Pie Pie. But yeah. Yeah, this was a lot of fun. I have one more, set to put together. This one is bigger. I'm gonna have a callus on my finger from this. But yeah, this one's bigger. It's probably gonna take me slightly longer. So yeah, we can do this one maybe next week or something. Aw, thank you, Peterman. Oh, that's awesome. Hell yeah. That's awesome. Thank you, dickhead. Thank you, guys. Thank you. But yeah, so we can do another one. Should be fun. I have a base for them. So yeah, we can do that either next week or some other time whenever we get around to it. Let's see. Let's see. I'm working on more behind the scenes stuff tomorrow. Wednesday, I'm not sure when we're streaming. We might be doing an earlier stream, me and Katie. I don't know what our plan is. Maybe a movie or something. Let's see. Yeah, so I've got a bunch of stuff I'm doing behind the scenes today and tomorrow. Wednesday streaming, Thursday filming a No Nut November video. Friday editing more. And then yeah, kind of a slower week as far as content goes, because I've got a bunch of other shit that I'm fucking doing, but it'll pick up more after this week, I promise. So, yay! Yeah, I know, the Lego flowers are so cool. Love them. But yes. So, that's the plan. Got a lot of stuff to do, but I'm gonna go get started on all of the things I've gotta go do off stream. So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff. So, I'm gonna go get started on that. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. Thank you guys for keeping me company while I did my Lego build. Go subscribe to... Here, I link. Let me relink. La la la. Oops. Oh, wait, did I already link this one? Oh, I did already link this one. Okay, maybe it'll still be copied. It is. Anyway, go subscribe to Mark Narrations, because he helped keep us company this whole time and entertain us, which was good. Let's see. Yeah, alright. Thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you if you liked the video. Thank you if you subscribed. Thank you if you joined. And thank you if you donated. I appreciate you guys. And thank you, mods, for hanging out. Because not much needed modding today, thankfully. Let's see. Yeah, I will let you guys know what the plan is for Wednesday. Otherwise, I will see you with new content on Thursday. All right. Bye.